Fire Chief Martin Dyer and Inspectional Services David Warren, Interim Commissioner. Thank you for being with us today. Claire, could you call the roll?
To the chair, certainly. Councilor Hayden?
Here.
Councilor Bergman? And Chairperson Councilor Toomey?
Here. Okay, thank you. One, virtual attendee call-in information pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Act of 2021 and in order to ensure active public engagement, the City of Worcester currently allows both in-person and remote participation on all City Council and City Committee meetings. To partake in the meeting, you may attend the meeting in person within the meeting location, followed with the below link to join via Zoom. Our dial the direct line is indicated. If you join a Zoom meeting by dialing in with the phone number, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. The public safety Zoom link is on the screen, I believe. Is it? The remote participation phone number and then the access code on the screen. We will go on to number 2, approval of the minutes. A, order that the City Council Standing Committee on Public Safety hereby approves the minutes for the Public Safety Committee meeting on January 21st, 2025. Clerk?
Councilor Hayden?
Yes.
Councilor Bergman? And Chairperson Councilor Toomey?
Yes. 3, communications to the City Manager and the Fire Department. A, transmitting informational communication relative to the June 2024 fire at Washington Heights. Who would like to start on that?
Madam Chair, I can start on that. So as we're all aware, there was a 3-alarm fire at Outlook Heights, Washington Heights in June of 2024. It was a very serious fire that really caused extensive damage to the building. One of the issues in the Washington Heights development is the buildings have shared roofs. And once the fire gets into the roof, it can run the entire roof and cause extensive damage throughout, even if you're able to contain the fire within the living spaces. And that's essentially what happened that night. Since then, there's been obvious questions about why aren't the buildings sprinklered? When they rebuild, will it be sprinklered? And the reality of it is that that development was built prior to the sprinkler laws being in effect. A brand new building of that nature today would absolutely have to have sprinklers installed. But none of our sprinkler laws go back. They're all look ahead for new construction pretty much. So there was some concern, and I think there was some rumors out there that they were planning on rebuilding without a sprinkler system in place, basically because they were doing a rehab that it would be required. And as often happens, developers will have discussions with code enforcement, the fire department prior to submitting for a building permit. And that process, I believe, did happen. I'll ask Commissioner Horn to step in there and tell you about his interactions with them.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Just echo the sounds from the Chief in terms of sprinkling as well. There was definitely some meetings that we had prior to any building permit submittals. There was some back and forth with regard to whether the building will end up being sprinkled. Fire alarm. The meetings progressed. The building is, in fact, going to be sprinkled. There's a building permit that was submitted just a couple of days ago. It's under review. The fire department and the building department are reviewing it as we speak. That particular building will be sprinkled. I know there's another building that had another fire. Not sure, haven't received anything on that building, so I can't comment on the extent of damage to that building, but we possibly be doing some type of review for that property as well.
It seems to me that their insurance company would want them to have it sprinkled.
Yeah, I suspect they do. A lot of times insurance companies don't want to pay for the added additional funds to sprinkle these. Believe it or not, we've actually had people kind of come back to us and try to appeal us in terms of what's going to be required in the state building code. But in other cases, the coverage is that I've seen, I'm not an insurance person, but I've seen it where, you know, it's completely covered and they will move forward with it.
Because it just makes sense to me that it's when you pencil it out, it actually makes much more sense than it does in the one lot. How many floors in that unit?
There were 3 floors.
There were 3 floors, okay. And the current, language that's reduced from 4 floors or more.
No, it's units, so if there's 4 units or more. This was multiple units, it was a bulk floor, so again, in current code, if you're building new, just for the building code, not the fire code, it would be required. So.
Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair, just, is there, I know, this is a bigger project, Worcester is like a 3-acre, 2 years to be rebuilt from what it was. Is there a time limit or time frame for this project?
This is a pre-existing building. They're allowed to rebuild their building. There is a 2-year moratorium on zoning compliance, but they're in a system that applied for a permit. We met with them again prior to even the building permit being applied for, so I think they're well within that time frame.
Thank you. And then also, through the chair, it says here, work with the team to facilitate the building's restoration. Give me an idea what that looks like as far as codes and it also says making sure that it complies with Massachusetts State Building Code and things like that. So what does that look like? So I can better understand. How do you guys work together with that?
Through the chair to the counselor, work very closely with the fire department, and often we reach out and we meet with the owners and contractors, engineers, architects, anybody that's associated with the building for a pre-construction meeting, to roll out plans for all of us to sit around the round table and collaborate, just take a look at this from above, 10 foot above, and take a look at the whole operation that's going on. Sometimes it's very in-depth logistics for the fire department as well, in terms of being able to get emergency vehicles in there and making sure that they can do their job. That's involves sometimes multiple meetings before we actually issue permits.
All right, and lastly, thank you, I appreciate that. And lastly, when the project gets underway, is it something that you guys do every, like quarterly, 3 months within that project time? Do you guys come in and continue to inspect, or is it like 1 or 2 inspections and that's it?
Through the chair, just in terms of building officials, we, on certain jobs, we automatically will do inspections, put it on, the building inspector will actually put it on his calendar, some of these bigger jobs, 2-3 times a week, to show on Tuesday at 10 o'clock and do their rounds through the building. I believe, I won't speak for fire, but I believe the same as fire, cases like that, those bigger jobs. Smaller jobs don't require that oversight. A lot of times we wait for the owner or the contractor to call for a particular inspection at a certain step through construction, because there's multiple inspections that have to be done over this. So this includes, in terms of inspections, we're talking about all mechanical, plumbing, fire protection systems, wiring. So there's numerous inspectors in the department, along with the fire department, that does those periodic inspections.
The chair of the council, if I may, in addition to what buildings provides on that, they're required to provide a NPA 41 construction safety plan with a project of this type. And so we would do those in NPA 41 inspections on a periodic basis to make sure that the construction safety is up to snuff. And part of that is, in a wood frame building, as they close out the floors and start building on the next one, they have to make the sprinkler system operational on the first floor, especially not so much this one is not going to be as high, but as you see these 5, 6, 7 story buildings on top of like podium construction. The tin boxes, they light up real quick, so you are very aggressive about getting out and making sure that those processes are being followed as they are. We work extremely closely with buildings throughout the entire process. I should say also is that both of our departments are very open and accessible, so people can call anytime there's a concern. If they think that they benefit from a rough construction, they can call us and we'll do whatever we can to support them.
All right, no, thank you, I appreciate it. I know, some of these projects, they, due to the housing issue we're in, try to get through that, get these projects fairly quickly. We just don't wanna, put people in harm's way without, making sure we do what we do. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so thorough.
I have a question. You first mentioned that these buildings had shared roofs. And is that something that's still allowed? These are older buildings. Is that something that's still allowed?
To you, Madam Chair, no, that type of construction is not allowed. Fire separation is something that we're always looking for. When similar is built like this, that firewall would continue all the way through the attic, and all the way up tight against the underside of the roof construction, if you will, to prevent the passage of flame. Absolutely a requirement in all two-family construction.
Okay. Now, will that be changed? Will it any type of firewall? This particular building will return the renovations?
To Madam Chair, that's a good question. I think what's going to happen, that they may be sprinkling the attic in this case with a dry system, which will alleviate the need for the separation wall. There could be some draft stopping issues that come up that we'll address during construction. If there's an area that's beyond the maximum capacity for draft stopping, and they'll have to put in some type of petition that may limit the area in which the draft can move, even in a sprinkled building. But oddly, with sprinkling buildings, there's a lot of exemptions to some of these different separation needs that may be required in buildings that aren't sprinkled.
Okay. Thank you. One of the things that came out that, a lot of the folks were left without support and all this stuff. And I know that we talked about having these funds, and one of the things that have come up along the way in recent fires is, where do we go? And I know I've talked to you, Chief, about a couple of recent ones that people just still didn't have a true understanding of who they were supposed to be connected to, or questions to ask, and all of that. I'm wondering if there's any way that we could put together some sort of a pamphlet. So you've been involved with that. What are the things that we need, right? From that perspective, and also from building perspective for the owner of the property, as well as for the tenants.
Sure. So, Madam Chair, working with Commissioner Goodwin with Emergency Management, we do have it after the fire brochure that we hand out that lets people know what the services are available, the type of things they have to do. So, like for both tenant and for the owner, so that they know that they have to contact the board company and what the requirements are there. Things that they should think about, like getting documents replaced, like driving licenses, more documents that they really need relatively quick. There's resources there for them to follow. So we do try to do that every fire. Our fire investigators carry those to make sure that they're passed out.
Sometimes I think people are in shock and they don't even realize what they have, so.
Absolutely.
And it's Worcester, which organization is supposed to be handling that fund?
So emergency management is the one that was working on that. I can be honest with you, I'm not sure where that stands.
All right, I'll ask them. Okay, so,
Through the chair,
yeah,
just,
sure.
if I may, thank you. Bringing up the fire that just recently happened, so what, during the whole event, was usually a 3-alarm fire. There's always a building official coming on site. We're meeting with fire prevention right away. We're meeting with the owners of the property. We were in contact with the owner of this property, Stacy, from the get-go with fire prevention staff. And it is giving them, abundance of information, very difficult thing to do in the circumstances in the moment with everything going on, being out of the home, very difficult situation actually for Stacy and her family. We've been in contact with them, we've sent out the dangerous notice in the building, been in communication with them directly. So we're always trying to be right there for these people. Very few times will we ever not be in communication with someone in that place.
That's good to know. Appreciate that. Council, we're finishing up on 3A.
Thank you,
Do you have any specific questions? Or?
Yeah, I know you want you had on the brief through the chair to the commissioner, Mr. Horn. Was there a determination as to the cause of the fire? Actually, that's the chief.
So I believe that the fire is still classified as being under investigation.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, could you
It's still being classified as being under investigation.
under investigation?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody in the on the phone or Claire?
Through the chair, it does look like we do have one resident, Marina, on the line. So Marina, if you'd like to speak on this item, I'll unmute you now. Marina, you are unmuted if you intended to speak on this item. Okay, not hearing from Marina, I will mute the resident.
Anybody in the audience wishes to speak on this? Please approach and state your name and city of town residence.
Yeah, hi, Henry. I just want to clarify, is this
Henry
for
what?
Henry Worcester?
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Before I go on, I don't want to make a fool of myself. Just agenda item only comment?
Yes.
Okay, no problem. I had a general public comment, so I don't want to take up your committee's time.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
All right, so we're going to accept and file. All those in favor, opposed, so moved. And we're going to 3B, transmitting information, communication, knowledge of the feasibility of installing pole attachments to fire hydrants in the city. Chief?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we did a little research on these attachments. Several years ago, there was a pilot on some hydrants across the city where they were tested, and I wasn't part of the process that evaluated them, so I don't know the exact reason why they decided not to move forward. But there are some limitations with these poles. They do tend to get in the way when you're actually trying to take the hydrant. So that becomes problematic. In the last several years, where we've turned on to technology, every truck has an iPad that has the hydrant layer on that iPad. You hear as part of our usually our response that the chief will follow exactly where the closest hydrant is on incoming calls, and it's extremely accurate. So if you see that hydrant on the iPad, you usually know exactly where that hydrant is. So it doesn't seem to be a problem these days. I think where those attachments really make a difference is in rural places like, where houses are far in between each other. The hydrants are much less close. Normally, our hydrants are on intersections and in the middle of the streets, but within 95 feet. So pretty much know where to find them. So I don't think the reward is worth what it would cost us, basically in both funds and in operational costs. It would cost probably at least $250,000 to install on every hydrant, and then there would be more for maintenance costs going forward.
I can think of better ways to spend money.
Even I vote for that.
New vehicles. What's that, quarter of a ladder truck?
Not these days.
Well, how much is a ladder truck now?
About $2 million.
$2 million.
Yes. And 4-year wait time.
Before you wait. We're going to see to use something. But no, I think I appreciate that, I appreciate the response, with the maintenance and vandalism, et cetera, neighborhood aesthetics, I get that too. So I appreciate that. Anybody have any questions?
Quick question, thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair, when it says maintenance, what does that look like as far as the maintenance goes? I've been around, a lot of, throughout the city, and some of them are just, a lot of the bushes, weeds are overgrown in that area. So, well, what does that generally look like?
Yeah, so when I'm talking maintenance, it's generally just the hydrant itself with the attachment. So these attachments are usually operated with a spring, and that spring can get stretched out. If someone's playing with it or vandalizing it, that can break the spring. And so we just require, I'm assuming a fair number of them be broken over the course of a year. That's the maintenance that I'm talking about. Some of them need to be painted, some of them don't, some of them are plastic, some of them are metal. So depending on what type we would think about purchasing, the maintenance cost will change.
I'm thinking lastly, I know we have the summer program for teenagers, when they get jobs from the city, their job is to water the plants and stuff like that. Is that something that we can add in as far as just the general maintenance around it? Make sure it's clean, sometimes.
You're talking regular hydrant.
Yeah.
Regular hydrant, nothing to do with this.
Fire hydrants.
Right. We're talking about, this was specifically installing pole attachments to fire hydrants.
Yeah.
And that was a specific thing. We're talking now about, general upkeep from the environment, which is different from that, so that was separate. Okay. We could use the chairs or,
Absolutely.
question, come up with a plan to
Yeah,
have.
because some of them are just, you drive by them, are they getting the maintenance on the job well, that probably can mess with the maintenance of it as well, or else not taking care of around it, especially when the snow is supposed to on top of it.
Through the chair of the council, you're absolutely right. It is generally the resident's responsibility or the property owner's responsibility to we ask that they take care of the hydrants in their areas, but it's something that we can absolutely look at, and I'd be more than happy to work with the water department to come up with a report for you.
Yeah, that would be great. And the other thing that I know, I wasn't able to do it this year, but in years past, I know, the hydrant on our street drives me crazy, no one shovels it out. So, my husband or myself will go down there and shovel it out. We could maybe do a few more PSAs, I know we've done them in the past. I don't think we're done with our snowstorms, but just remind people. That's important.
Just a couple of questions.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair to Chief Dyer, on the, you may not be in the loop on this, although I'm sure you're in the loop on most things, because I think it's a DPW exercise, but recently I saw, it looked like DPW trucks, but definitely was city of Worcester trucks, in my neighborhood particularly, spraying orange paint near the stores and near the hydrants. Do you know anything about whether or not that has to do with this type of issue, to identify hydrants that are covered with snow?
Through the chair of the council, I'm not familiar with that. It doesn't sound like that would have anything to do with it.
It was great to snow.
It was in the snow, it was orange paint, where the hydrant was, and where the source was.
Could that be, Big City?
No, it was definitely city Worcester. It definitely wasn't fire, but I wasn't sure whether you were aware, because it seemed to involve hydrants. So it leads to my second question, I'll finish up. Would it make sense when there's enough snow to cover the hydrants, to encourage people to do some sort of spray painting? It seems to me it would probably melt unless you had some waterproof spray. But that's apparently what the city is, because I was leaving the house today to come here, and the orange is still there.
Through the chair of the council, and anything else that helps us with the visibility. So it kind of depends on the time of the day, night, whether they're going to see it and whatnot. But we generally encourage clearing, especially that's where the visibility comes in. Is when you do a really good job of clearing that hydrant, that stands out from a full snowbank, and so that's going to be our quickest identification.
Please, my last one or two questions, through the chair. Is there any issues at night with identifying the hydrants that they've got or that need to use the hydrant? There's no lighting, good lighting.
Through the chair to the councilor, again, it comes down to us being prepared, and that's using the iPad and the layer that we have. Before we had the iPads, we had the map, which is based off of that same layer. And normal practice, I know I did, and I think most officers do this, is if a fire is struck, and let's say I'm not going to that fire, I'm coming down to my truck and I'm finding the nearest hydrant. So if I go on a second alarm, I know exactly where those hydrants are. En route, the company officers that are responsible for taking hydrants, they're looking on that, they're identifying, this is a good hydrant for me, this is a good hydrant for the direction that I'm coming from. So very proactive. It's the first thing we think about is where's not messing.
Sounds like there's good technology. Thank you. Thank you.
The technology is really advanced measurably over the past few years, so it's great.
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, that's just a good opportunity to shout out to our Department of Innovation and Technology. They do a fantastic job providing us with that information, and in particular, the GIS division does really, really important work that we use on an hourly basis.
Yeah. No, I'm very impressed with what they've been doing, so that's great. All right, all right. Any questions from online?
Through the chair, there still is one resident online. I'm not sure if they're interested in speaking on this item, but Marina, if you are interested in speaking on this item, I ask that you raise your hand. Okay, not hearing from Marina. It doesn't look like there are any residents online at this time who'd like to speak on this item.
And anybody in the audience wants to speak on this?
Yeah, sure.
Name and city or town residents.
Yeah, Henry, Worcester. The only thing I'd add is for the pole markers, if they can be reflective. I know sometimes they're a matte finish, but that's the only feedback I'd have. So similar material you have on trucks and tractors that are reflective markers on the side. Not all of them have it. I've seen one on the list. Some do, some don't.
Thank you. We're not going forward with these because of the cost. It's $250 million. So I think I will say that brings up a very good point that I'd like to see perhaps more reflectors on the hydrants. I know some have been faded, paint jobs, what it should be. Do we do that?
Madam Chair, the water department maintains the hydrants, and I think that's a very good discussion that I can have with them.
All right, well, I'm going to file a chairman's order to request the water department take a look at painting, upgrading, painting, any type of reflective material, so that they do stick out, especially at night when you're professionals. So,
I think that's an excellent chairman's order, and I appreciate the feedback from Chief. I'm just wondering, is there a reason that reflective paint is not considered? I know yellow seems to be the standard color on hydrants. Is there a historical reason for that?
Madam, through the chair of the council, it's an interesting, yellow is a standard in Worcester. The bonnet on the hydrant signifies to us which system it goes off, whether it's the high pressure or low pressure system. But it's actually not in line with NFPA hydrant markings that's recommended throughout the country. I do not know the reason why Worcester has historically gone with yellow.
Thank you.
all right, so there being no further questions, this will be the end of our meeting, and it was very efficient. Thank you, everybody, for being here and for responding. And so we will close out this meeting. Thank you.
Do you know if they're taking sign-in sheet for the city council meeting? Do you know if they're taking sign-in sheets for public comment for the city council? Okay. And then will there be a period for general public comment? Will there be a period for general public comment?
Yes, it's the beginning of the meeting. So basically, at the beginning of the meeting, the mayor will start the meeting, we'll go through the minutes, and
Yeah.
then he'll open public participation.
Okay.
You can get in line, and as long as you have testimony that's on any item on the agenda.
Sounds good.
Agenda's outside.
Cool. I'll explain a little bit here. Alright, so here's a little history lesson for you guys. For those of you that don't know, this is Patrick Reno. And basically the most interesting thing about Patrick Reno is that his parents are two OSA members. But they're not just any OSA members, they're the OSA members of Massachusetts. And so Patrick, if you don't know who that is, that's the guy from the Sandlot movies. He is a very well-known actor, and I think by the time that he was in his late 30s, he became a high-ranking Scientologist. I think his official last known designation is OT6. In Scientology, and that's Patrick Reno. Patrick's dad, and again, Patrick is the guy that's in the Sandlot. Patrick's dad is none other than Gerard Reno. Gerard Reno is the Boston Mafia Don for Scientology. And then more interesting though is here is Karen Reno, or Karen Harvey Reno, or Harvey Reno, or Karen Harvey. Basically, that used to be the lady that oversaw the Worcester, Central Massachusetts operations. The most interesting part is that yeah, no problem. Do you want me to write it down for you?
Yes, please.
I don't have a pen if you got a pen.
Here, let me go grab a pen.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll just put it in this.
Oh, yeah, sure. I can take it.
Sorry about that. I should have asked for
No,
it.
no, it's all good. It's no big deal.
Henry?
Without the H.
Without the H?
Yeah. Everything else is fine.
Okay.
And then M-A-R-I-N.
R-I-N-I. All right, there you go. Thank you. I'll add it
Thank
in
you.
there.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Whoop, sorry about that. So anyway, Karen oversaw the operations of City of Worcester. And the Scientology building actually used to be right next to City Hall in Worcester. And it was actually a very well-known place where they basically body routed a lot of immigrants. They would offer a lot of language services primarily. Worcester is a very well-known immigrant haven city, similar to Google says Patrick is alive. Patrick is alive. His dad is also alive. His dad is Dennis. That's what I said. Gerard Dennis Reyna. And Gerard Dennis Reyna. That's his dad. Not dead, but Dennis. Gerard Dennis. So, hope that clarifies that up for you. No, not dead. Yeah, Dennis. Anyway, literally right next to the Worcester City Hall, they used to have a building that now has been turned into a private gym. And one of the most interesting things is that building used to be owned by Scientology up until like the late 2010s. And around the same time period was when a city council member of the Worcester City Council was also caught in a whole real estate fraud racket. And it just seems to be that par for the course that, of course, you'd have somebody that is affiliated, that, of course, Scientology would have a building right next to, whether it be a city council, whether it be a university, to do this kind of crap. And really what I wanted to talk most on is the fact that when I was trying to make my report a while back for the harassment that my parents were experiencing, this guy, Joe Vigliotti, badge V366, he was at the front desk taking the report, and he was just being just a goddamn jerk, dude. Like this, but it wasn't just that he was being a goddamn jerk. The worst part of it was that as I was trying to give him the report, this dude literally shows my address live on camera as I'm trying to tell him about a sensitive issue of getting harassed, my parents getting harassed at their home. And so that's really what I'm here to speak on. And this Scientology crap is just sort of a byproduct of it. That, of course, you know, so that it's like pick and choose your own adventure, you know. On the one hand, you have the Scientology angle. On the other hand, you have the fact that a cop is this guy right here. A cop is dishing out a family's address when literally they're going through a harassment issue, and he decides to take it upon himself and make it even worse. Now, the guy that I ultimately ended up talking to was chill, but this guy also has a major case of pain in the ass. This guy was involved in a DV case. He's been on the force for dozens of years, and he's never been promoted. And it's because he's an absolute jerk. He went from not being promoted to catching a case to being officially held on a complaint for conduct unbecoming of a police officer, and he's very well known in the force as just being a real POS. And the fact that he's still a beat cop is absolutely disgusting. He's still there. He has never made it to the point of a sergeant, and that's this guy's MO. His MO is just harass people that try to go and do their due diligence with the cops. So we're here to put this guy on blast because can you imagine how many other people he's done this to? Can you imagine? I mean, seriously, imagine this, right? Imagine this. There's a family coming to the cops because they're getting harassed. It's an extremely sensitive and delicate issue that's involving some really, really disgusting acts and behaviors that they're being victims of. And out comes Joe Vigliotti, a real piece of shit, and is out there just fucking shitting on the community and putting them in an even worse situation than before. And I made it very clear to him what was going on. It's not like at any point in time he didn't understand. He just immediately went from 0 to 1,000. Snap of his fingers, immediately 0 to 1,000. For no reason. The most low stakes situation. No, they actually haven't started yet. They're just getting set up. And so that's Joe Vigliotti for you. Joe Vigliotti. And this guy basically is on desk duty, but he's the worst kind of desk duty. They have him at the front desk where he's interacting with members of the public. I mean, what a piece of shit. So we're here to warn the community about him. Are you with one of the local news agencies?
I'm my own free press.
Okay, well, you want to hear some hilarious stuff?
Yeah, what's going on?
So I primarily cop watch.
Yeah.
Long story short, there's a guy that's very infamous in the city of Worcester, a cop by the name of Joe Vigliotti,
Okay.
badge V366. Long story short, I went to make a police report for harassment my family and I were receiving. This guy, as I was recording, literally, and I muted and I put my phone away and everything, I gave him my family's address and I told him I'll wait for a supervisor. Okay, out of nowhere, he told me all is good. I put my camera back up, takes my family's address, puts it right on a glass wall, doxes me right there in front of hundreds of people. And I filed a complaint against him right there. Turns out he has a series of DV cases against him. He has been held and sustained on complaints of conduct unbecoming of a police officer.
Yeah, that would probably wasn't against the law, it was probably against their policy,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
Their policy of professional conduct.
Yes.
Which they will go back to and say,
It-
we investigated ourselves. We
Yes.
didn't find anything.
Oh, absolutely.
We found anything wrong.
Yes.
Yeah? So it's up to us to create as much pain as possible.
Yes.
Right? So if they're gonna dox your ass, you dox their ass.
And basically, I'm just here to warn the community. I ended up winning the RO case, and I told them, like, I have a pending case. This
Yeah.
is how you want to conduct yourself. This is
Yeah.
disgusting, to say the least. Well, anyway, long
So
story
it's
short.
actually I mean, if he was involved in the case, like witness tampering.
Well, one of the conditions actually that I have on the protected order as I'm the protected party is no any such third agent behavior, whether it be anybody else, particularly revolving around my address.
Oh, I see.
So, I mean, his actions very well could be taken as a third party
Yeah.
causing due harm.
Right. Well, I mean, it probably shouldn't come as any surprise because you saw there was the kind of federal investigation.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't come to any surprise when you find additional things outside of what was found.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I know exactly where it happens.
So,
I
it's
ride my
systemic.
scooter and I grew up around here.
Yeah.
I know where that area is.
it's systemic.
Yeah.
If you ask Candy, I asked Candy over here. She's a city councilor.
Mm-hmm.
At when that was
The
released,
DOJ investigations, yeah.
when that was released, I said, you just told, because she was being interviewed by Fox 25 or whatever, and I said, you just said the situation wasn't systemic. Do you stand by that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got that whole thing recorded.
No, it's beautiful. Yeah, I always tell people film the police, and a lot of the stuff I had done was out in the LA area, so I'm used to real hardball slime bags over at the LAPD.
Yeah, totally.
And it was just like when I saw this guy, I'm like, dude, this is Worcester, right? This isn't LA. And if you're gonna act like this is LA, come on, dude. Like, you're peanuts compared to them. But all it took was one search, and I found this guy's cases on cases on cases, and I'm just like, how is he on the force still? Can you imagine? Seriously though, like I know we're joking, but say a battered woman and child come up and they're trying to make a report, and they're greeted by this guy. They are literally getting their lives handed to them, and this guy, without any sort of empathy, and not even that, he just outright harassing these people at this point.
It's sociopathic behavior.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's a crime.
Yeah,
It's straight up a crime.
Yeah. But they'll rally behind that. Were you here? There was actually a big police turnout here.
Was it just in the past month?
This was, I'd say it was January. It was in response to that. January.
December, January.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
And I mean, it was just.
I was over in California, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it was completely solitary.
Oh, I bet.
Right. So it's so when they say like the thin blue line,
Yeah.
it's like
The Blue Line Gang
that
flag.
thin
Yeah.
blue line is like that's their gang symbol.
Well, I mean, you literally can't make this up. So I found all this guy's socials. All right. Long story short, he literally has me and my Air Force buddies would dare call it a defacing of the flag, where he has all sorts of paraphernalia of the flag in not its true colors, all over his social media. I'm like, what kind of clown stuff is this?
Just wait till he puts that in a government-funded place.
No, I bet. I mean, one of the hangout spots, a perfect example, over at the Hollywood Division, LAPD, they have this rec center where they're, hold meetings, and a small gym is there for the officers, and literally this one corridor, they have it painted in giant colors, the Blue Line flag. I mean, you literally walk down, and there it is, just staring you in the face.
You and I are lined up.
Yeah. Well, I tell people, because I'll be around for a bit, if you ever find stuff, because I think there's a couple of good people over on the West Coast. There's not really many actually competent cop accountability people on the East as much.
Yeah, you get a few. We got accountability for all.
Yeah, that one I know.
He's like a break it or something. We've got Press Now NH.
You Press Now NH, yes. Press Now NH, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Everyone's got their own style, and not everyone agrees with everyone's style.
Yeah.
We got a little bit of that presence here. Yeah, California's the OG. That was High Desert Community Watch and
There's a
Johnny
guy.
5-0.
Yeah, Johnny 5-0, yeah.
All those guys.
There's a guy out there called Film the Police LA. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I'm familiar with that.
He's a tall, skinny black dude, William Good. He does a lot of good work out there. Basically, he makes these online officer profiles. My goal is to do what, there's this website called watchthewatchers.net.
Yeah.
So my goal is to do that, but for all of the U.S. So basically, I've learned pretty well at this point. If I need to sue for public records, I'm happy to do it on my own and just be in pro per. But there was an example of what I want to do in Salt Lake City. I traveled there too. And basically what they have is they have the whole roster of each of the different municipalities in the state of Utah, and they have it broken down by their different divisions, and they have the officer's name, their badge numbers, their rank, and a photo. I want to combine that with Watch the Watchers, where it shows their salary info.
Yeah.
And the best part is, for this website in Utah, you could actually submit, like basically it's a crowd-funded incident form that you submit, and you can attach a video, and it gets permanently stored there and you can easily search.
So it becomes.
It's like a giant database.
Yeah, it becomes a record.
Yeah, it's like a police misconduct database. And one of the guys in particular who was the officer responsible for killing Megan Moan, basically think of George Floyd, but it was a woman. She was having a clear 5150 mental health crisis. I mean, she couldn't have been more than 110, 120 pounds soaking wet. She had no baggy clothes. She clearly had no weapons on her. And she was basically already, before they even arrived there, in the fetal position. She was not a danger at all. They came in with about 6 officers. Just one guy, for some reason, just decided, you know what, screw it. Puts his knee on her neck. Within minutes, she's gone. She kills her right there on the spot.
Well, I mean, clearly that guy's a sociopath.
100%.
Right? I mean,
The DA decided to not prosecute. Said
Yeah, of
there's not
course.
enough evidence, despite the literal body cam
Right, of
footage
course.
showing this man's knee on this 100-pound woman.
of course. Don't believe your lying eyes and what's recorded.
Yes.
What's up, bro? How come you didn't come to my festival? I don't want to hear it, bro. Worcester events.
I kind of pushed my.
I would have gotten you for free.
You were out in the hallway, but
Yeah.
whenever that door opened, I always just walked right.
Every year, we're doing it every year.
Yeah.
I did that today, and they.
You could have been the lone Republican.
I don't know who it was. Oh no, the public's not.
Oh, you like that, Joe? You would have been the only one there.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, what would they be saying?
Yeah.
They would have yelled at you.
Oh, I agree. It's not.
Wide open.
Yeah, it's not restricted access. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
you literally need like a sign here that says no public access.
Yes.
Which there is not.
Right. I agree. I agree.
It's only we that are kind of displaying civility,
Yes.
but we don't have to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. The one thing, probably the one and only thing I particularly like about Worcester city government is that the council members don't get paid much, if anything.
Yeah.
And that's very unique. Most other places make like 200K plus as a council member. Here, I think they make 60K base
This guy,
salary.
city manager, makes 300.
City manager is different. The council members get paid crap, but these other bureaucratic positions, totally different ballgame.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. It's really at the end of the day, they're clerks. That's it.
There's a cop out here. This guy, the guy with the stripes and the gray hair that's kind of looking down with the glasses.
Cop stripes right here.
He's the highest
Oh,
paid. He's
yeah.
the highest paid cop on the force. Lorraine.
Yeah. What's his name?
And he makes Lorraine.
Lorraine.
Yeah.
Okay. Is he a lieutenant?
I
can't tell.
I think so. He's got lots of stripes and bars. That's kind of
Because the you threw you.
quasi pseudo military thing that they do with
Yeah.
celebrating
Yeah.
some kind of perceived authority. But they, he, I think he makes like 350 grand a year. I mean, that's just like what's on the record.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then there's,
Yeah.
like overtime.
Yeah. Overtime. Yeah.
All that special stuff. How's it going?
Hey, bud, how you doing, baby? How you doing?
I actually had an interesting machine. This was a couple of meetings ago. I'm here.
Oh no. Yeah. It's all good.
There was a couple of meetings ago, and I said, I was standing outside that door, and it was closed, and he was there, and I said, Lorraine, I intend going to, and I said, what will happen if I go arrested?
Yeah.
And he said, hold on, let me check. He made sure that his ducks were covered.
Yeah.
He came back and he said, no, you won't get it.
John's,
So I had to make him acknowledge that
Yeah.
it wasn't a crime, and it's perfectly admissible.
I mean, I tell people, listen, like, it's really not that I hate cops. I see a lot of people who I would say are like on the goofy side of like the activism spectrum, where they just say, you can tell they never actually like gone and talked with actual people,
person to person.
Yeah, like they're just goofy and they say like the weirdest rhetoric. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's just simple. I want accountability the same as you and I have. I don't want this caste system, not only on the legal like court side, but on the law enforcement side. Just they commit a crime. It's that simple.
Howdy. Is he supposed to be back there? We're gonna find that this country's slipping
Hard, yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
I think time will tell.
I think even people that are in the wealthy areas, like some of the Palisades in California, they don't understand. They do see it even for themselves that cops don't care about you, man. They'll come after you if you're wealthy or not.
It's that kind of, the whole cliche around the World War II thing, which is like, they're bothering the trade unionists, so what difference does it make to me, right?
Yeah.
It's only when they start coming after me.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree. A city like this, though, is particularly interesting because Worcester has such a mishmash history. But the most interesting part of the history is that during the same period, there was that whole council member that was involved in the whole real estate racket of basically they were taking kickbacks from a real estate company for development deals on the side. That same period was when also literally right across the block here, there was a Scientology building. And that's actually part of the stuff that I wanted to talk about, but literally there was a Scientology up until like the early 2010s outside of City Hall. And I know the name of the lady who was the high-ranking OSA member, they call it in Scientology, that ran that mafia group, because that's what Scientology is.
Of course.
She was married to the guy that ran the Boston mafia group of Scientology, and their son is, you remember the movie The Sandlot?
Yep.
You remember the guy that said, "You're killing me, Smalls"?
I don't know if I remember
The
that.
ginger kid.
Yeah, okay.
That guy is their son. Gerard Reyna
He's
is...
probably like 60 now. Or something like
Yeah,
that.
so the father is like old. He's in the late 60s, early 70s. Patrick, the ginger kid from The Sandlot, he's in his early 40s.
Oh, okay.
And he's a high-ranking Scientologist.
Yeah.
Literally can't make this shit up. And that's his birth certificate. I got it from Boston. You can have a copy. I've got boatloads of copies, but those are his parents. Karen Harvey Reyna and Gerard Dennis Reyna. It's right next to Worcester City Hall. And the guy, the whole thing of why I even went for the RO, long story short, was there was basically an agent they hired to harass people that are critics of Scientology. And
they go into immediate offense, defense.
Yeah.
It's like aggressive defense.
Yeah. Well, so far it hasn't worked out well for them, but I mean, it's just goofy. Like, this is the kind of stuff that if you just do basic like journalism due diligence. I mean, I literally have a whole list of small business front groups they have in the area. One of the people that runs one of those businesses is the affiliated and a family member of a guy who owns a construction company in LA, who I was filming doing illegal construction. Cops stopped it, but one of their crew members made death threats and assaulted me as I was recording them.
Wow.
So
it sounds like you've done your own journalism, lots of your own.
Yes, so it's like that, and now all of this is coalesced into me showing up in full force to let the city know that you're effing around and you need to stop it.
So that idea that you talked about with essentially bringing multiple sources of data,
Yeah.
that kind
A
of
public
thing, that kind of thing
cop
can be pulled
misconduct.
together very quickly.
Yes.
Very quickly.
Yeah, and if you can Google it on your phone, if you type in Salt Lake City Cop DB, like D for dog, B for boy, you will see the website I'm talking about. It's free.
Yeah.
I don't make any money off it, neither do the people
Oh, so that's
that
your
made it.
that's your site.
You can go on it right now, and again, you can search by their badge, by the area, by their title, and they have saved their video footage as well as written reports, as well as you can generate your own like custom visual reports, like if you want to make pie charts on, how many complaints have been submitted versus how many have been sustained, versus how many have been unfounded.
So it's app.coptv.org.
Yes. Yep. app.coptv.org.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
Never say such a thing.
And the code is nowadays with like public platforms like GitHub, you can basically just, if people want to, for example, build it and maintain and host a little thing of their own, we could just release it on GitHub and people could just
Sure.
fork it and
Sure, yeah.
do whatever.
Yeah. And then OpenAI will crawl it.
Yes,
grab,
and you can.
grab the source
That's
code,
exactly
and then,
the whole point.
And then you,
yes.
and then you just say to ChatGPT, you say, hey,
Yes.
create me. This is what I want to create.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, I'll code that up for you and create the back end and the front end.
That's
and,
exactly what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Yes.
Indeed. That comes down quickly.
Yeah. If you ever have any questions, you can reach me easily. filmthepoliceusa at protonmail.com.
Film the Police USA.
Yeah.
Film the Police. Well, mine's easy. Mine's just, my name is Kev Cool.
Kev Cool?
KEVCOOL.
Okay.
So.
You got a YouTube?
I do, but I don't post
Use
a
it?
lot of this kind of thing there. I mostly do like portrait photography.
Okay.
But I'm very activist.
Cool, man.
As well, so I support. Like here, there was a big turnout last week. I think it was basically a LGBT.
Yeah, the Sanctuary City vote.
Yeah, and
I remember that vote. Yeah.
I filmed that whole thing, and I'm pretty plugged into doing media for those guys. Josh, the owner. Yeah.
You have a studio?
I don't have a studio. I have a roving studio. I just get as light as I can, like with carbon fibers and stuff, and just do usually on-site stuff. I do a lot of portraits, yeah. You know what? I just got new ones made and I didn't bring them with me, but it's just Kev at kevcool.com. Just remember the name Kev, KEVCOOL. Yeah. Yeah. And then if you want to email me or it's COOL.
Oh, COOL.
Yeah. 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 I used to have a studio, but it's too costly. Not a sustainable business.
No. And you don't have to pay the real estate.
I like the look of a good location shoot anyway, you know?
There's lots of places in the city.
What would you recommend? What are you thinking of in your head?
Springtime is the best time.
Yeah?
The outside, all the apple blossom.
Yeah, I mean, I've shot out here before.
I mean, it's okay, but it's, everybody's done it.
Yeah.
Elm Park, it's changed, but you had, I remember once upon a time we had all the rhododendrons and that. That's all done.
Yeah.
Other than that, you know,
I've been trying to find like urban kind of gritty places to shoot.
when you have a good place like that.
Well, we do have some cool alleyways here, but they're private. They're
Oh,
so
I
right
see what you're saying.
here, right here around town, like there's some kind of urbanish looking gritty stuff. I mean, it's not dirty.
Southbridge Street, a lot of stuff back there.
South.
Side street, yeah, there's Southbridge Street.
Okay.
There's a lot of dead end streets that are off of that, it's all industrial. Some spots over there, and it's open.
Okay.
Go on either side of the train tracks, you go from Main Street, head over there. Some of the back roads, the back tracks of the B&W.
Okay.
Off of Cambridge Street, in the back of some old, there were some old factories that were converted to lofts, not lofts, but apartments.
There's some nice ones over
You had
there.
the cemetery, go
Yeah.
back that area there.
Yeah. There's still, was it Mill Street or the one that goes over to Hope Cemetery?
Webster Street.
What is that, Webster Street?
Webster.
Okay.
Mill Street is over by where the airport takes it to the airport.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Webster Street. And, yeah, you get some, on both sides of some refurbished factories that were into small businesses. Actually, there's even a monument company.
Is
over
there?
That might interest you. It's called Rex Monument. And it's kind of industrial based building.
Oh, okay.
It's some of the monuments.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to do so. I mean, I'm in my late 50s now, so but I used to do so much.
This damn phone, yeah. Sorry, you guys aren't. I'm not really paying attention to you guys right now. No, you can use it. Let me move my jacket up for you. No, I get that. I get that. Are you here to make public comment? Okay, so you're one of the people on the agenda. Very cool. Which one are you? 8Y? Recall elections, yes. We were literally, so I was covering this with, I've been in California particularly for a while. Long story short, the mayor, Karen Bass, is a real corrupt POS. I mean, you want to talk about major fraud and just, she deals with some of the shadiest people. Long story short, people want a recall of her because she's just, it's just like in your face. It's like, okay, come on. Like, this is fraud 101. Yeah.
It's necessary sometimes.
100%.
I'm not saying obviously the situation that it's at hand was a catalyst for it, but it's not the sole reason. It just needs to be in place because there is nothing in place.
Well, I know recently you guys also had an issue with a council member that was taking real estate fraud deals on the side where they were getting kickbacks. Like, that's the kind of shit that you need to fucking recall people for when you don't have it. Yeah, I agree. Well, I'll tell you what, one of the things that is hilarious for you to know is the fact that along those same real estate racket deals, some of those companies involved in providing kickbacks to that council member are also people involved with Scientology, because for the longest time there's actually a Scientology church literally right across City Hall, literally up until like the 2010s. It's a cult, basically. Yeah. And so when I heard that, I was like, I mean, come on, man. Of course that makes sense. You got a freaking cult right next to City Hall. Like, what more do you want? Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I'll talk on your item. I was going to talk about some, because I primarily cop watch, but yeah, I'll talk about your item. Well, yeah, I mean, I was literally going through this, and like, it's nuts what she's done to that city. It's just disgusting. Oh my God, they're already on the verge of bankruptcy. The controller of the city in LA, I've spoken with on many accounts, and anyway, long story short, they're at the point where they're taking private loans because they can't afford to pay off
It's only because
their
I've been the subject
staffers,
of,
their pensions, other benefits, and they're selling off public assets, taking on private loans.
makes me that much.
I mean, it's a bankruptcy because of people like the mayor. So yeah, I agree. I 100% agree.
When I was a young boy, now I get older.
You're losing your give a shit energy?
No. When I didn't have one when I was young.
Well, yeah, like,
As I got older, I didn't
think
know.
of it this way, right?
Yeah,
What
you know,
other
it's a weird
job on
thing.
planet Earth can you just be like, nah, I'm
young
not
and
going to do my job and I'm allowed to get paid?
You haven't
Oh my God.
Here's the thing, I grew up with three
Yeah,
parents.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
correct. Yes.
Yeah.
When you're at home.
Yeah, yeah.
How old am I?
Yeah.
I agree.
All right.
You learn.
I wanted just to, I don't mean to interrupt your conversation.
No, no, go
I
ahead.
reached out a couple
Well,
months
the
ago with a
culture's
letter.
different now. I know that you've
I did
probably
still,
noticed that.
I did a draft, I didn't know if you saw that, just to see.
It's not.
I work in the restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually printed out the draft if you wanted to read over it. I mean, if you're
okay.
comfortable with what it said, just because I didn't hear back from you, so I just wrote. It's really just basic, it's just.
Ah, yeah, it's nice. I think.
Oh yeah,
I
you still
think
been
there's
doing
a
stuff
real
with
need for
the
that
nip
these
bump?
days.
That's very true. Like,
I retired.
I'm leaving next month to go to Las Vegas to a summit to actually speak and present a project that I have going on.
Is that mostly a just donation to public good, or is it like a career?
I got bored from
It's
retirement,
I see.
but I had to find out. They found me.
Yeah.
I started working, I was offered a position at Marlboro Hospital.
You sit weighing back here?
Okay.
And I told,
I don't blame you.
prior to having the surgery,
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man.
I don't know if you can see it really well, but like basically I was just going through historical records of where like the indigenous villages were in Massachusetts.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
being from the
You know,
restaurant,
you know,
Sure, sure.
substance. You name it.
You saw that you had practical applications.
The thing is, when I retired,
yeah.
my last surgery, I sat on for a year, about 4 minutes.
Wow.
So now I work locally for a company.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we just got.
I see a lot of untreated mental illness.
Yeah. I know there's been a lot of drama, I think, with
Yeah.
Cheryl Hawley.
Unfortunately, just, yeah. I think I mean.
I wanted to ask you
maybe
before I
and
forget, do you have any
know
standing claims or lawsuits against the city yet on this issue? Okay.
Because this is like the very first step.
Yeah, so this will be basically your official notice to the city that says, really what these petitions are for, to say you have 3 to 6 months to officially give response and reconcile if you don't, and it's grounds for I'm going to sue you. That's really what you're doing. Yes. Yes. So yeah, that's what these petitions really are. In the grand scheme, that's the whole reason why public comment really is. It's you're putting the city on notice that this is an issue. You haven't resolved it. You have usually 3 to 6 months to resolve it and reconcile. If you don't, you are wide open to litigation, not just as a city, but you personally as individuals that sit on this council. And so one of the most interesting things about Massachusetts is that whereas other states usually force you to sue the city proper, you can go after them as individuals acting under federal law via common law. So it's basically like a court against them as an
She
individual.
gave it was like a TED talk or something.
Yeah.
And she was able to basically recognize, hey, this is real stuff, right?
To some extent, yes, but you also, I tell people it's a combination of all of them. So like, do you have any social media?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any channels you want to shout out?
Come to a point where they feel they don't need it anymore.
Okay. So that's like one avenue I tell people. Like even if you don't care about social media, I just use it as it's reported.
That's the, that would be the same for, let's say, bipolar.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good.
Hey, actually, I think I'm close to bipolar.
Like activism stuff.
My brother, my stepbrother, and boy, when he's
Okay.
he's unstoppable. I mean, he's like doing calculus.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just his brain is moving 100 miles an hour. That's the main thing, and he's loving it.
Okay.
Right, and the problem was when he started taking medication. It brought that down.
Well, I tell every political group to kick rocks. It's really, at the end of the day, it's about accountability.
He didn't feel productive. He wasn't feeling, you know. But I will tell you that, like,
Yeah.
he was sharp as a whip. He was on that.
Yeah.
He was like,
Mm-hmm.
Robin Williams, yeah.
Yeah, right. Right.
Oh, he had a real strong line. Yeah. Well, that sounds like a unpleasant thing to go through life.
That's the kind of stuff that.
But that was, you know.
That's like grounds for like RICO claims and shit, where yes.
Because a lot of, you know, we're all humans, so we have the capability. It's just that some of us tap into it all.
Oh my gosh.
I'm Calvin. Ted. Good conversation.
Oh, good. Yes, good. Yeah, as you should. Yep. Good.
You're kind of a
good. Yeah. Good.
I've seen you around, Ted.
Around here?
Yeah.
Once in a while.
Yeah, you've been
I get around.
Yeah.
I've been trying to make it a more regular thing.
Oh man, that's exactly what you gotta do. You gotta tell their cousins about it too, how much of a POS they are. Tell their neighbors. Tell people shame is a powerful tool. Yep.
Take a lot of pictures?
You want me to take your picture?
Taking a lot of pictures.
I'm just independent press.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
See, you're photogenic.
I mean, literally, a council member in LA, Kevin De Leon, was literally shit canned for this very thing because he was being not only racist, and this dude's a Mexican guy being racist against other Mexicans. So, like what the fuck? But it's like, dude, you can't just go around just slandering and defaming people like that. What are you doing? Like, that's character assassination. They can chew your ass in court, and you know it. And they're just basically hoping that people don't fight back and just sort of roll over and take it. Yeah.
I can't say before you.
I know you can't. I can take my chances. I'll be right back.
That's true.
That's a good idea. This is not anything expensive, even if I do.
Yeah.
So don't worry, I won't. Everything expensive is around my neck.
Yeah. No, this one's yes. Yeah, I'll gladly talk about it. I love this kind of shit. Yeah, well, they're goofy. They're goofy. Yeah. Whereas this is really getting to the heart of government. It really, it spans everything from cops being accountable to, people being discriminated on their gender, to everything else in between. Like this is the shit.
None of it is okay, and if you get out of line,
Yeah.
there are repercussions to your
Yes,
actions.
yes.
And I cannot think how many people are against it. I'm like, really?
I mean, that's
Oh, gosh. Somebody's sitting there? I don't think so. I don't know whose jacket that is. Well, but I'm anxious and excited at the same time.
Yeah.
My phone is ringing all day. What's the right time?
yeah. 8Y.
8.
Recalls of people in elected positions over fraud and corruption. So basically, if somebody that's been elected does some criminal crap, you should have the power as the people to recall their position, basically fire them. Not wait for them to resign, but fire them.
I didn't really see any civil rights stuff on there. I seen there was some open meeting laws that were being discussed. I think so David Webb has some open meeting law stuff on there. Paula Costa has some open meeting law stuff on there. Let me see. Let me get to the items. I think they're on the 8th. I think it was like 8th. Somebody wants to have chickens. Joseph Vandermelli wants chickens. I'll find it. Okay, so 8, 8T, 8U, and 8B. Those are all open meeting law. 8B, 8T. 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 Okay. So 8T, 8U, and 8B. 8T, U, and B. U and B. Those are all open meeting. You can support Fred if you want to do Fred Taylor's 8X for Juneteenth flags. Oh, that's right before mine. And then Christian King, for the Declaration of Black History Month. So we should do that. Yeah, that's okay. And Rabbi
You can sit here. There's my jacket if you want.
Here for 11
What's 11-0?
the Worcester abatement funds.
So what's the what? Oh, okay. I got 8 water.
I don't have it.
So recall, basically somebody that's elected, you should have the power as the people, if they do some fraudulent or corrupt shit, to basically fire them without having to wait for them to resign. That's what a recall is.
How do you play around with the word?
I gotta say, this is a pretty small room. I visited a lot of government. Yeah, I'm saying that. Why didn't they have the whole area open?
I'm trying to find it.
A lot of people. What's up?
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
Maybe just like
I'm looking. No, no, it's okay. Hang on.
How's it going? This guy's got the guy in the around the row, up in the front of the row. He's got a little bit of a Benicio del Toro Italian now. Am I right? I actually got a picture of it. Oh yeah. Hey. Hey, buddy,
Yeah, Henry.
Henry?
Yeah.
Do you want me to get some video of you?
Oh, dude, absolutely. Dude, I'm live streaming this whole time. I film all the shit I do. Yeah. Go for it, man. How do they typically take comments here? They call a petition item and then you go and you comment on it? Okay. Okay, how long do you have to speak? 2 minutes total per person? Oh, hell yeah. I got this. I can't wait. By the way, my name is Henry. Sorry. Yeah, if you ever have any questions, film the police USA at Proton Mail. Yeah, it's an email. Film the police USA at protonmail.com. USA at protonmail.com.
Ready to table this item, Council Bergman?
Yep, .com.
Council Gia? Council King? Council Carlson? Council Mian? Council Hida?
Yes.
Council Pasillo?
Yes.
Council Russell? Yes. Council Tucci?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes. Participation, you speak, certainly people no more than 2 minutes on the agenda. We'll have, course, resolution 39 again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At every meeting of the City Council on the public participation portion of the agenda, the chair shall recognize any person seeking such recognition for the purpose of addressing the City Council on any eligible item on the agenda for the meeting, both in person and remotely. Any person who wishes to speak on more than one item on the agenda should combine the testimony to one appearance at the microphone. The time of speaking shall not exceed 2 minutes for any one speaker or 30 minutes for all speakers.
Okay, so we'll go. That passes. Roll call, Councilman. So, 2 minutes. Did you name the residents?
My name is Charles Foster, Worcester City resident. I'm here in favor of 8X, 8Y, 11O, and also 8BB. And I'd like to talk a little bit about 8Y, why it's important. Because I've been waiting since June to hear back from the city council about Fuller Park funds for the Black Community Center. So it's really important that we show up. The world is run by those that show up. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is your name, to your residents.
Yes, hello. Henry Marini, City of Worcester, and a couple different items. 8Y I'm in support of, and I just want to explain the reason why. I have traveled all across America, specifically covering organized crime, one of which being the affiliations of government and Scientology. And I can tell you from a lot of the coverage I've seen, a recall is very important because the biggest stories I've covered so far is Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass literally colluding with Scientology to bankrupt the city. And it's very clear that your city also has a major organized crime issue. In fact, Joe Vigliotti, an officer who is here in the Worcester Police Department, when I went to make a police report because my family was being harassed by Scientology regarding a restraining order case I had against a known agent of Scientology, this man doxed my address in front of the people as I was making my report. This guy literally doxed my address. An officer, a law enforcement officer, V366, Joe Vigliotti, who is also on a known DV case and a known officer who is unbecoming behavior. Your city also used to have a known Scientology building right across the doorway. And some of the corruption regarding the real estate rackets that happened a couple years ago had direct ties to Scientology. I've been investigating them for quite a while now. And that is why I'm here to speak to you today. My family is being targeted by Scientology. I won that restraining order case, by the way. And that's what one of your officers decided to do. Dox my family's address. That's what he wants to do. And that's why recall is important, to throw out corrupt officials. And I know some of the affiliations that some of you guys have. That's why I'm here to stand before you. It's only a matter of time. This stuff gets out eventually to the public, and it's absolutely a shame. And the people have a right to know and hear about it. And I hope you do better.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Shooting as it states on Friday before the holiday until June, the day after the holiday. We have not celebrated Juneteenth until just recently, and then we had Juneteenth. Then it was literally taken away from us. And it became a Caribbean holiday. So we need to maybe celebrate Juneteenth in some way.
Are you going to give public comment?
That it belongs to.
So you can't. Can you take both, the 2 and the 3? So they make you wait for one. When do they take agenda item comment? Okay. You know, it's funny because usually I've seen them, they have like a sign-in sheet where you can at least put your name so that people have a go, but it's like a fucking shit show here. And I'm seeing a real shit show over in LA. And Worcester is nowhere near the size of LA.
I've been asking that off and on for years, and I hope that
Deanna Jatansing, City of Worcester. Speaking on item, in support of item 8X, 8C, 8BB. For 8X, I do support the flag being flown more than the 24 hours it was in the past. It should be for the Friday before, for the appropriate amount of time. 18C, I support that the city of Worcester should have a resolution to recognize Black History Month and the contributions of Black Americans in Worcester. Also for support of 8BB, expand Worcester senior house homeowner tax exemption. And also I couldn't find it on the agenda, but I met a gentleman here that said he's here to talk about his item on petition for chickens in Worcester. I can't find the exact number, but I support Worcester having chickens, especially with the price of eggs going up. Thank you.
Next speaker, please, your name, your residence, and item number.
Yeah, my name is Joseph Mangiamelli. I'm a resident of the city of Worcester. I'm actually the person who put the petition out for 8C for...
Oh, you have to wait, we're gonna get to the petitions in a minute, so.
Okay, so I just would wait my turn. I'm sorry, I'm new to the whole thing, so.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Malika, I'm a resident of the city of Worcester. I'm also a woman in recovery, I'm also a survivor of sex trafficking, sex exploitation. I'm here on the items of 8X, about the Juneteenth flag. I am in agreement with that, I'm supporting that, so I just wanted to put that out there. But I'm also here for 11O, the allocation of the abatement money. What I needed to say in regards to that is I believe, actually this is my second time coming to speak on this situation, that the community, the people who have been through those situations, the lived experience, who work each and every day with the opioid crisis going out, you know, out there in the community, that we should have a say-so at the table to be able to make decisions about how the money's being spent, because from what I've found and what I've seen is there have been money that's been allocated to programs and things like that, $1 million, and then a couple of months later, the program closes down with only a couple of bands that to show for it. So I think that it would have been better dispersed if it was people that was involved in the conversation to be able to give some feedback on how to allocate the money. So that's what I gotta say. Thank you.
What's your name, your residence, and item number?
My name is Alan Young. I am a Worcester resident, and also a man in recovery. I'm here to address 11O as well, the Worcester abatement funds. I just want to call for transparency in the allocation of the funds, as well as push for people with lived experience to sit at the table and help steer how these funds are allocated. We need sustainable ideas, things that are going to help the longevity of this great city. And as it is right now, looking at the allocations, upwards of $300,000 has been spent off of the backs of people that we have lost in horrific ways on admin costs. Admin costs doesn't help what's happening right now in your very backyard, the things that you have to look out the window and see on your country. So we're just calling that people with lived experience please sit at the table and help allocate these funds.
Thank you. The next speaker. Seeing nobody else, we will go to,
Mr. Mayor, I do have, Bill, I'm trying to do it now.
we still have people watch. We'll get to petitions in a second.
I want to speak to some others.
No, it's only one, so.
Can I do it all at once right now?
No, it's petitions.
So I petition to speak on other items?
What's that?
I can speak on other items besides the petition?
Yeah.
During my petition?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Thanks.
Existing in Worcester, I'm posting my support of items 8X and 18C, and then also just wanted to comment on 8Y. I think it's a great thing to do. I believe through the chair, can has all the right to be voted out of
we got a few more speakers. and then we'll go back to
What's your name, to your residence and item number?
Hello, my name's Gary. I'm over six councilors. I live in District 5, and I'm here to support 8X. I think this should be a no-brainer. I don't know why it hasn't been done before. Juneteenth, the flag should be up even longer than what they're proposing. It should be celebrated like the 4th of July is. I oppose 8Y. I think this, I don't mean should be used for people that are not doing their job or be dismissed. There's got to be some kind of human resources to use rather than, and if there's not a special election and a recall election, you're talking about trying to save money, and here you are, this would cost thousands and thousands of dollars. I think there's got to be a way to come up with better to solve that problem. 18A, I think we're talking about transparency, and I think everything has to be.
This guy's a fucking clown.
The city council to be open within to the citizens of the city, and I don't think having and calling into an executive session, unless it's a severe case, needs to be done. The other one that I think is ridiculous that it's taken this long is 18C, recognizing Black History Month. That should have been done the first meeting. I know I was here at that first meeting, and there were some things that went on, but there was no reason this wasn't passed on the first meeting of the month. To wait till the last week to celebrate Black History Month, it seems like it's very unprofessional. The last one I would like to talk to is 8B, expand Worcester senior homeowners exemption. I'm just retired, and I'm gonna have to live on my Social Security, and I have a home in Worcester. And there's no way I can keep that if the
This guy's a clown.
So I think we need to expand on that tax program, please. Thank you.
I'm gonna think about it.
My name is Ted Casas, President of Worcester. I'll make it brief. I'm supporting 11O, 8X, 8AA, 8Z, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but 8Y.
Thank you. The next speaker, please.
My name is Athena Hatter. I'm a resident of Worcester, Massachusetts. I am also a member of the recovery community. I'm speaking today on the bill regarding transparency with the recovery community on the abatement dollars. When Morris Healy's office was seeking input from communities for that money, she sought our community first, the recovery community, people who have been personally experienced the opiate crisis. Today, we're asking for that same community to have input into spending of that money. I believe we're in year 2 of that money, of spending. We'd like to be at the table, and I appreciate the council. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, your name and residence, city residence, I know.
Good afternoon. My name is Darrell Alexander. I'm a resident of Worcester for 25 years now. Beautiful town, best move I ever made in my life. But I'm too also a member of EDM, and I just wanted to know where was the transparency when this money's being spent, the open.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Audrey Beatty. I'm from the city of Worcester. I'm here today to talk about 11O. I also want a little bit of transparency on what's going on with the opiate money. In last year, we only spent 22% of that funding. I'm a little confused. We have people dying every day on the streets from overdoses, and I would like to have more conversations and more people with lived experience at the table on where these fundings are going. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Sadie Lombardi. I'm a Worcester resident of District 2, and I'm here to speak on 8Y. I strongly oppose 8Y, as I believe it's a direct attack on Councillor Tumian. However, if this does pass, I believe that every single member of this council voted against the investigation into the transphobia and xenophobia on this council should be recalled. It was a big disappointment a couple weeks ago when the council decided 7-4 that there would be no investigation into the allegations of discriminatory behavior perpetrated by one of its members. I do not believe that Councillor Candy Merrill Carlson is fit to serve on this council, and with the results of this vote, I do not think that the majority of you are. There's a lot of deceit going on here, and the people of Worcester are being lied to. I'd say it's a very solid reason to remove you from your positions. To those who voted yes on the investigation, thank you. To those who voted no, I'm sure Worcester will be more than happy to take you out of this hostile environment since you can't handle visitors with respect that you're getting. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Serenity Jones. I'm a resident of Worcester. I'm here to support 11O. I'm also here to support 8Y, which are Manningham Dance. And I think that leaves that open for any counselor that we don't feel is fit. And it's just a way to hold some accountability, so I fully support that. I also support 8V. I would like that to be looked into a little bit more, because if somebody could send out an email, a press release when there was no committee meetings being had, what else could not be forthcoming and truthful? And then I also want to support 8U with Stephen Quist. I'm not going to beat the dead horse, but that's where I am. Thank you for your time tonight.
Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Zane Mullins, resident of Worcester, and I came to speak in support of HC. It's about allowing Worcester residents to own chickens for the sole purpose of laying eggs. And I think I used to work, I know I used to work at a kindergarten where we were kids outside, and when they held an egg in their hand the first time, they couldn't remove that of the chicken, they were like, whoa, it's warm. And I was like, yeah, that's because it comes out of them. And hearing that made me realize that a lot of people are very disconnected from their food. So I think it's really important that as Worcester residents, we have that ability to have our food close to us, to engage in the community sharing of like giving eggs to people, receiving eggs from people. And I think it's really important that, you know, as rent rises, as prices for food rises, that Worcester residents have a way to stay food secure. So I would really like urge you guys to vote yes on AC. Thank you.
And next speaker, please.
Janet Davis, I use she, her pronouns, I'm a Worcester resident. I'm here to speak in support of 8X, the provision to have the Juneteenth flag flown for an appropriate amount of time. I believe last year it was up for less than 24 hours. I'm opposing 8Y, the amending the charter to allow for recall elections. To me, this is a thinly veiled attempt to punish Councilor Gwen. Furthermore, recall elections have a low success rate. From 2010 to 2024, there was an average of 219 recall efforts against an average of 356 officials per year, with a 17% success rate. Recalls are often used as a tool to intimidate elected officials, targeting opposition to policy decisions rather than malfeasance or nonfeasance. There is little evidence to show that recall mechanisms lead to more responsiveness and accountability. Recall elections are costly, and voter turnout tends to be much lower, leading to an outsized influence of special interest groups. With the voter turnout in Worcester's regular municipal elections hovering around a measly 17%, the city clerk's time would be better spent on strategies to improve participation in regular elections. I support 18C, the resolution to support and recognize February's Black History Month. I believe somebody had said before, it's disrespectful that it's taken this long to acknowledge that. I support 8BB to expand Worcester's senior homeowner tax exemption. We all know about the rising costs, so that seems like the right thing to do. I support 11A. We should be getting regular updates on the ballpark. We have the most expensive minor league ballpark in history, and it is definitely not paying for itself. And I oppose 18A, the discussion of council behavior should be only an executive session. No, we should be having it here on the floor where the public can comment on it.
And next speaker, please.
My name is Emily Youngbrand. I'm from Boylston. I'm here as a member of Standing Up for Racial Justice Worcester. As such, I'm supporting 8X, the provision to have the Juneteenth flag flown for an appropriate amount of time or respectful amount of time. I oppose 8Y, amending the charter to allow for recall elections. I oppose the attempt to intimidate and increase even more so the workplace harassment for such a marginalized community. I support 18C, resolution to support and recognize February is Black History Month, as February comes to a close. This is shameful. I support 8BB, expanding Worcester's senior homeowner tax exemption. Prices are going up, seniors are falling more and more into poverty. This is a no-brainer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Sam Bunnebrand. I'm a resident of Boylston. I'd like to speak in support of 8Y, in support of 18C, in support of 8BB and 11A. Also support 8X and oppose 8Y. Specifically for 11A, these kinds of statements are always promised to be economic boons, and they almost never are for communities that they are put into. So for Worcester to actually get some benefit from the statement that has been built and the promises that they'll made surrounding that, it'd be great to have some accountability. The Juneteenth flag should be flown, that makes sense. Black History Month is February is Black History, so it should be recognized. And then finally, opposing why, as has been stated, the turnout for elections that we already hold is low enough to keep legitimacy for democracy, to try to have as much a voice to the people as possible. Having elections where fewer people show up doesn't make much sense. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Allie. I'm a Worcester resident. I'm here in support of 8C, 8X, 18C, 8BE, and to speak on 8Y. You know, it was a big disappointment a couple of weeks ago when the council decided 7-4 that it wasn't going to bother to even open an investigation into allegations of discriminatory behavior perpetrated by one of its members. It felt at the time like concerned residents were out of options to seek accountability. And that's why I'm so grateful to this petitioner for stepping up as an ally to Councilor Nguyen. If the state legislature, a body renowned for its interest in municipal infighting, sees fit to intervene, it opens up a whole new set of creative avenues to seek the administrative recourse for malfeasance that we were denied in multiple ways earlier this month. It really warms my heart to see unexpected allies undertaking innovative advocacy on behalf of the LGBTQ community to secure labor protections for counselors, making sure that elected officials who use slurs aren't permitted to keep their seats. Now the legal beagles among us may say we need some time to consider the liability behind instituting bureaucratic measures that can be twisted from their obvious intentions into a tool to punish or even retaliate against people who have alleged discrimination, but I say, hey y'all, live a little. And while there's only one name on the petition, I really want to thank everyone here who helped pull it all together. It really takes a village.
The next speaker, please. Names to your residents.
Hey, I'm John Keogh. I'm from Worcester. I'm here to speak on 8C, on pro chickens. You guys should stay out of people's ability to grow food for themselves. You should be allowed to do gardening, raising animals on their own. And it works in a ton of other places here in Massachusetts and around New England. So stop holding that up. It'll alleviate prices if people are allowed to raise their own food. 8Y, I'm not going to say I'm for it or against it. I will say this. I heard that there's some fundraising already going on behind this. And so I would just warn you that that could be used against you. And I'm happy to help fundraise for other recall elections. So if you want to throw chaos into the thing, I would love to get involved. I've never fundraised before against specific people, but bring me on board, we can get this done. So it won't be one recall election, it will be multiple. Juneteenth, I'm for it. The Madison thing. I just want to say, 2 years ago I left my job and I had a little trouble making rent, and I was taken to court like this, right? Madison Properties, bails on their promises to the city, and then all of a sudden shows up with millions of dollars for the Holy Cross Project. Zero accountability publicly from anyone, really, except for a couple of people. So the city council should be going after them for some kind of recourse. They lied. It wasn't just a promise made that they couldn't make. They lied and showed up with capital. They said specifically in their statement We don't have the capital to match the project in the ballpark thing, and then all of a sudden showed up with capital for Holy Cross. And I would like to hear you guys talk about that publicly. How did they magically come up with the money that they couldn't pay us back? Right, where did that come from? And then the last one is on the executive session. The current version of 18A has been repudiated by the Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts 16 times since 2020. You can look it up on the city's free LexisNexis account and see it. It's right there. Just put in executive session. The law says may. May. It doesn't say you have to do it. It says may. And it's normally about if someone is actually charged with a crime or there is a civil action against them. It's not for a conversation. Yeah, absolutely. So we vote for you guys to have public discussion, not secret discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Put your name, say your residence on the number.
Good evening. My name is Kaden Davis. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a resident of District 4. First, I urge the council to pass 18C to officially support and recognize February as Black History Month. At a time when our federal government refuses to acknowledge the value of Black history and Black Americans, it is imperative that we take a stand. Black history is American history, and this recognition is not just symbolic, it is a commitment to truth, justice, and equity. I am also here to speak in support of 8BB, raising income and estate eligibility for the city's senior homeowner tax exemption. We should be doing everything we can to support housing access, particularly for our most vulnerable communities. I'm against 8Y, as others have already very eloquently explained. This is an attempt to intimidate Councilor Nguyen and would not at all enhance our process here. Now, let's address the council's continued failure to investigate or take meaningful action against hostility, discrimination, and hatred. Despite countless requests from your constituents, you chose to vote against a thorough investigation into the transphobia, discrimination, and toxic culture within this very body. Additionally, Councilor Merrill Carlson has yet to apologize for the derogatory...
That's not on the agenda tonight, so we'll stay with the 8Y.
Additionally, Councilor Merrill Carlson has yet to apologize for the derogatory and dehumanizing language that was used to refer to Councilor Nguyen. Let's be perfectly clear, Councilor Nguyen is not the issue. The issue is that this council believes it is somehow immune to basic standards such as workplace safety. The issue is this council's blatant disregard for civil rights and equity. How can Worcester call itself a sanctuary city when its own city council refuses to protect its non-binary councilor? You cannot hide behind performative actions or empty words. Your actions or lack thereof speaks volumes. And let me be clear, we will keep showing up to hold you accountable here and most certainly at the ballot box.
Good evening, my name is Margot Barnett. I'm a resident of Worcester for the last 35 years, I think. I'd like to briefly touch on a couple of items. 18C, I'd like to ditto what the previous speaker said about that we should absolutely be recognizing Black History Month, and it should have been recognized earlier in the month. And 8X, if we're going to really give recognition to holidays like Juneteenth, we need to fly the flag longer. And if you have a policy that says you only fly a flag for 24 hours, let's take a look at that policy amendment. The main thing I'd like to talk about, though, is 11A. That's about accountability for Madison properties. I represent a community organization on the Worcester Community Labor Coalition, which is a coalition of community groups and organized labor that seeks to make a city that's livable for all of us, that economic development is community development. We spent the better part of the year trying to get a community benefits agreement for the ballpark. I believe that we met with all of the councilors who were on the council at the time. Everybody agreed, committed to us that they would not give tips to certain companies if they didn't, if there wasn't the community benefits agreement in place. I don't know whether any councilor followed through on that commitment. It was not, as a body, it was not enacted. So Madison Properties was always the bottleneck on this. They were the real obstruction to getting a community benefits agreement. The city administration assured the community that the bulk wouldn't cost us money. And that was contingent on various developers like Madison Properties coming in with projects that would bring in tax revenue. So they got a tax break, and they haven't followed through on their commitment. So I think real quick. I think it's really important that we have accountability, and that I'm really grateful to Council Haji for bringing this up. I think it's really, really important that the city use every method, every means including clawing back the tip for not keeping us committed.
I agree with you on that.
Endorse following city guidelines involving transparency of funding and using outline from the state that they're using other communities that have been successful. Just getting support for that. Thank you.
Mayor, first someone speaker can identify the area and try to make the road down.
Hello, my name is Alina Alvarez de Matipuen. I'm a District 4 resident of Worcester on Invoke territory. I first wanted to state my support for 8X and 8C. I love the Juneteenth flag up for longer, and as previously stated, formally recognizing Black History Month is important. I'd also like to show my support for A and 8W. There are a lot of sidewalks that are not being cared for right now, and as a wheelchair user, it has either resulted in my being physically blockaded, putting my life at risk using my wheelchair on the road, or damaging my wheelchair that is still left me in debt. I'd appreciate extending this to any corporate property owner that routinely fails to clear their sidewalks, as the property owners at 421 South First Street and 52 Herman Street continuously have abandoned large swaths of sidewalk, routinely causing me and my wheelchair harm. I wanted to state regarding 11K and 11L that I would like our city to do more to protect our unhoused neighbors. I appreciate warming centers, but based on the people I've seen sleeping outside in intense and violent cold, I would say it's not enough. I hope that any policy decisions about how to handle homeless encampment sweeps involve reducing sweeps and hostility and working to reduce rent so that it's possible for our neighbors living in such distressing conditions to finally rest safely. I'm also strongly against 8Y, doing recall elections based on things like malfeasance, which is the legal term for the wrongdoing of a public official, would theoretically be swell in the case of a city councilor using the slur against a coworker, but I think it's one of those things that is so easily corrupted to tease in bad faith, and I don't trust our government with this. I'm also against item 18A. In general, I prefer discussions about someone's personhood to be dictated by that person, not the council. And complaints, charges, or discipline against other people is absolutely not something that should be discussed behind closed doors. I also, as many people have stated, supporting ADD. And finally, just another reminder that we are still waiting for a public apology and condemnation for the slur it. Thank you.
Our half hour is up. We want to take a vote. We have 6, 7 more people online.
Mr. Russell, the rules, Mr. Chairman.
I move that we suspend the rules for 15 minutes after.
For the 7 people, okay? Roll call.
Council Bergman? Yes. Council Colonia?
Yes.
Council Gia?
Yes.
Council King?
Yes.
Councilor Carlson? Council Ian? Council Ojeda?
Yes.
Council Basilio?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
Council Toomey?
Yes.
Mayor Petty?
Yes. That's it. Next one.
Mayor, the next speaker is Tom, I'm trying to the resident down. Tom, can you please say your name and city of residence? Okay, now hearing from Tom, we're gonna move on to the next speaker. The next speaker is Natalie Gibson, we're trying to the resident down.
Hi, just one sec, I'm driving.
So, Mr. Mayor.
What a fucking clown show.
Hello? Yeah, I was able to pull over. Yes, Natalie Gibson, District 5. I am calling in support of a lot of the things that the previous speakers were speaking on, regarding things like 11
11N, I believe it was, or O, regarding the allocation of funds from the opioid money. I would really like to know what happened with the snow treatment that happened with our last storm, because in my opinion, it was horrendous. So I would like to see that get better, and I am aware that we do have a new commissioner that's on board. I agree with the Juneteenth flag being flown a little bit longer than the 24 hours or less. Having Black History Month be designated as February. I am not in agreement with chickens in Worcester, because Worcester is pretty dense in most of it, and I do not wish to be hearing people's chickens
Oh my
clucking
god, this lady's a NIMBY.
right next to me.
Not in my backyard.
I don't agree with 8Y regarding the special elections. And you know what? I will, for now, reserve the rest of my time. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Right, next speaker is Carrie. I'm trying to be the resident now. Carrie, can you please state your name and city of residence?
Yes, my name is Carrie McCallum, and I'm a resident of Worcester. And I am here today to speak in support of 11O. I am a mother in long-term recovery and work in the recovery field in the city of Worcester. I actually visited city council at the end of 2023 about this same issue. It's been more than a year, and I feel like the recovery community still lacks that transparency about how the funds are being spent. We want to see the people to have input on how these funds can best be spent to support the people that have been affected by the opioid epidemic. And I feel like I just know more about all the other towns and cities in Massachusetts and what they're doing with their funds more than I know the city of Worcester where I live and work. So I think that's an issue. We need more transparency around that and more input from the recovery community. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, the next speaker is Joshua. I'm trying to be the resident now.
Joshua Sunquist, District 1. I want to talk on behalf of 8C, and I am definitely not in favor of having chickens in my neighbors or my own backyard. I think it'll be a nuisance to the community, and I'm not in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, the next speaker is Abby. I'm trying to be the resident now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm Abby Mortolero. I share pronouns. I'm in favor of 8C because I'm pro-chicken, and in favor of 8X. Let's let that flag fly, Let the flag fly, Juneteenth is a holiday, and so let's have the flag fly and everything. All right, now, I'm opposed to 8Y. I'm listening to 8Y because it is a blatant attack on a certain council member, and a certain council member owes another certain council member an apology, which never happened. So, and I'm a trans individual, and this matters. All right, that's good. That's all.
So, Mayor, the next speaker is Julie. Trying to be the resident now.
Hello?
Go ahead, we can hear you. Please state your name and city of residence and item you're calling on.
Hello, this is Anthony Raphael and I guess Julie Miller. I'm president of the city of Worcester, speaking in support of 8C, as well as support for the Juneteenth flags, support for the designation of Black History Month in February, in support of the senior tax abatement as well, and against the recall election measure, as well as against in favor of the investigation into the Madison property group regarding the Poultry Park situation. That's all. Thank you very much.
So my next speaker is Brian Trumbull, trying to throw the man.
I'd like to comment on my item AW. Should I do that now?
No, we'll come back to you, Brian.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. Next speaker is Dave Morales.
Good evening. I'm Eva Morales, resident of the city of Worcester, District 5. I'm here in support of 8Z, and having a study of the number of apartments and reasons why they're empty in our city, given our lack of apartments that are available for our residents. 8Y, I oppose that. I think we should all be aware of what goes around comes around, and you know, this could actually come back and affect you, those of you who are putting this forward. 11O, we need transparency on how these funds are being distributed and the process used for such distribution. Once again, marginalized folks in our community are being shortchanged. I think we learned some lessons with the ARPA funds process, and we should probably not let it repeat itself here. Of course, I'm on favor of 18C and designation of Black History Month and recognition of that. I don't even know why we had to have that come through for comments, and that should be a given. And I am in support of flying the request to fly the Juneteenth flag, 8X. And the main reason I came today, but then found all of these other issues, was 8BB. I think that we need to definitely look at a way to expand the senior homeowner tax exemption. This, along with other programs that the city offers, will help to ensure that our seniors can remain at home and live a dignified life. Thank you.
So my next speaker is Tom. I think we try to unmute the resident earlier. We try one more time.
Hello.
What's your name, sir?
Yeah, it's Tom Marino, City of Worcester. On 8Y, there should be no piecemeal amending of a very horrible charter. If you want to amend it, let's open it. And there seems to be resistance, but from some in council about that. And on 18A, while I'm sure to brought forward in good faith, one raises transparency issues, but more importantly, as I think somebody else mentioned, statute actually says may, which would leave it as to the option of the council by vote, and I think that the council, the environment is toxic enough as it is, and there's enough problems there, and I would think that enabling a weapon to be used by the majority in the future, to pick and choose what gets aired in public and what doesn't, it's just a really terrible idea. Again, another speaker said, you're dealing with criminal issues or civil litigation, that's one thing, otherwise, everything's possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
So my next speaker is Atticus. I'm trying to order now.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Your name,
Hello, my name is Atticus. I live in Worcester. I am a non-binary resident, speaking on behalf of EW. I was coming home from the grocery store earlier today, and I saw a wheelchair on the turnpike in the road, which is completely unacceptable. My partner also uses a wheelchair and also has been struggling hard for it just to get 3 blocks they need to get to work in their wheelchair. Clear off the damn sidewalks. It's not that hard. Also, as someone who grew up with chickens, as long as you don't get something loud and annoying like guinea hens, they're not going to give you anything. They're entertaining as hell. Thank you.
The next speaker is Danielle. Can we go over now?
Danielle, City of Worcester, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I wanted to speak on 8Y. I would think that a lot of people would not want there to be the ability to have these special recall elections right now. It does seem like it is a pointed slight at a specific member of council, but I mean, if we open it up, I think that there are other seats that would be open to recall as well. I would question whoever wrote that up might not have the best interest of everyone on council in mind, or maybe just doesn't have the ability or forethought. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
There's a lot of fucking dumbass people in Worcester. Jesus Christ, I thought LA was bad. Holy shit.
Hi, can you hear me? Hi, this is Yanni Durosh, resident of District 5. I have a couple of brief things. On the issue of, okay, where did my thingy go? I don't have the numbers in front of me because everything just crashed. Sorry. But on the chickens, I support us having chickens. There are a number of towns and cities across the world that have implemented chicken policies to actually mainly focus on the decrease of food waste. Because if we can give the food waste to the chickens and then the chickens create more food, that's less that goes into landfills and trash and stuff like that. So that would actually potentially help us in that regard, not just in terms of providing more food security for people. The rent control item from Fred Nathan about overpaying for 3-deckers. I see this constantly online. I see this constantly, even from within the landlord communities that I'm in, that some people are just paying astronomical prices for some 3-deckers in town. And then jumping prices, I see some people talking about their rent doubling or going up by over $1,000 because of a new buyer. And it makes sense, you have to recoup the costs, but we need to have some kind of protections in there because of how many multi-conglomerate international companies are coming in here and buying up stuff. I also wanted to support Rob Balava's item for the senior home homeowner tax exemption, the income and something else eligibility level getting raised. I think that with everything that's going on right now and how much inflation has affected things, that definitely needs to be looked at. And in terms of snow removal, I've brought this up before, but I would really, really love it if we could do some research and look into what it would mean for the city to implement alternate sides parking, so that we can make sure that the roads get to the widest that they can be for emergency access and everything. So, thank you.
Okay, the last speaker. Mr. James C. Robinson.
Yeah, no, he's not going to speak. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my family, my children. It's my son Eric. My name is Joel Carmona. I'm on Chattanooga Ave in Worcester, and we wanted to comment on the snow removal. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of difficulties with snow removal and ice removal in our street. It's been a very big challenge as a parent of a disabled child. My daughter is also a type 1 diabetic where sometimes she'll have lows and we'll have to leave. And excuse me, I'm a little nervous, but I think what I wanted to kind of get across is the fact that on the last 2 snowstorms we've had, and it's been more towards the end of the season, we've called on multiple occasions and we often get, a voicemail, or when we get in touch with somebody, they say that they're going to be sending someone out and they don't, or the person comes the next day. And there are certain situations where we have medical appointments or we have to leave because of an emergency and it is unsafe to do so. Our street is very steep at the end of it where it ends where there's like a garage at the front, so we could literally slide into somebody's house. And there have been times where I buy snow tires every year, I buy them brand new, but it's just not enough. It's not enough, and we really need to refocus, if we could, the efforts, just to think of those individuals where there have been times where I've been stuck at the bottom of the hill, and I have to push my son up the hill, and I don't think that's fair. I think that it's something needs to be done. I think it needs to be, I know that there's a lot of budget issues and that's always a challenge, but when you think about whether or not you're going to pass additional funding for these, please think of the people like us who, we met with these challenges, these unexpected challenges, and we always look to our city to help. And that's what I'm asking here today. I brought my son today to the Y to go play basketball, and we found out about this meeting. We literally went, we came rushing here. We were like, oh my God, it's 7. We're not going to make it. But it's that important to me and my wife that we come down here and just make her aware that we really need your help. We really need to refocus. And I think hopefully next year, maybe, we really don't want to experience this because we pay our taxes. We want to make sure that everybody, not just us, but everyone on our street is safe. Because I wouldn't want somebody coming down and sliding and hitting us on that either.
What street was yours again?
I'm sorry?
What street?
Chattanooga Ave.
Chattanooga? Mr. Commissioner, you got that? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
We're going to go to petitions. I'm not going to go through the people online on the petitions. Hang on, and we'll get in a second. Right now we are on hearings and orders. Motion to open the hearing on 7A to 7D. Those in favor, opposed, so ordered. Anybody opposing 7A to 7D? See nobody opposing. Motion to close the hearing to adopt. Those in favor, opposed, so ordered. Petitions. 8A to 8A refer to Department of Public Works and Parks.
Sorry, I'd like to, are we,
On 8A.
I'd like to file this petition, the city, former Commissioner Pink and I, and the residents, including the Pond Association, actually requested that those benches be removed because the city can maintain them. And so, as the council has worked with this in the neighborhood, we shouldn't be putting benches that we're not able to take care of. So I'd like to file a motion to file this.
7A reading. Seeing nobody ready, motion to file. Those in favor, opposed, so reported. 8B, Central Parks Commission. Instead of the Central Parks Commission.
You gotta second the motion first, man. You gotta open it to the floor, you gotta second it, you gotta take a vote, and then you approve. Come on, man.
All right, thanks for your time. I apologize for speaking out of order before. I'm Joseph Manginelli. I am a resident of the city of Worcester. Prior to moving into Worcester, I lived on the Worcester-Millbury line, and my wife and I had 6 chickens that were for laying of eggs only, and it was a great blessing. Not only do they make great pets, but they also produce very healthy and amazing eggs. And so we were able to feed our own family and some of my children's kids as well. So I've heard some concerns about chickens, one being noise. I do think it would be important that if this was ever put into effect, that there be a limit on the numbers of chickens that a person could have in their possession in terms of raising chickens. I've also heard the concern about possible pests like rats and mice and things like that. I do believe, again, that there's a lot of information online where a person can create a good coop as well as a good area for the chickens to be that is protected from pests, as well as a screen above the chickens that keeps away flying pests. So I do think the issue of pests is something that could be definitely handled, but I do think if this ever goes forward, that there should be a well thought out, I guess you would call it some sort of legislation that would help people who wanted to do this do it right. My wife and I did not have other kinds of chickens. We definitely did not have a rooster. I would say no roosters should ever be allowed because they're the ones who make most of the noise. Chickens are very similar to having a dog in the backyard. If you have a dog in the backyard, it's going to bark. Chickens make noise just like a dog would make noise. So they don't make a lot of noise. And I just think this is the time's come. Last time I went to the grocery store to buy eggs, they were $5.50 for a dozen. That's absolutely ridiculous to have to spend that much money for eggs. And not only that, I'm not even getting great quality eggs. So having the egg production, having a pet, being able to teach my grandchildren how to raise chickens correctly, how to care for them correctly, I think this is a win-win situation, and I do think concerns can be properly addressed with the right kind of legislation. So I'm here to say, please allow this to happen. As a former chicken owner, when I moved into Worcester, I became very sad to be told you cannot have your chickens anymore. And so I had to give away all my 6 chickens.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wonder if we could get a report also, because I know this came before the committee I served in, years ago, came before council, perhaps in prior terms, perhaps it was, I can't recall, a couple of times. But I know that the planning board recommended it favorably. I don't recall what we did or didn't do. So I would like a report back on the specifics of that. The reason I'm asking is, in my mind, I'm wondering why we have to send it to planning board. To committee, I think it was Ms. Walker, I believe. I don't know if the clerk has anything to add, Mr. Chairman.
To the council, I think if the solicitor wants to answer this, but I think there has to be 2 hearings on it in most cases. That's why I think once it goes to the planning board and then it comes back to the council, depending on the planning board recommendation, and then the committee has a hearing. I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, in economic development.
That's what it was,
Yeah, so it was heard maybe about a year and a half ago in economic development.
And yeah, so I'd like a report back so we can follow the trail. Again, my question is it necessary to go to planning board? Can it go right to economic development? Given that it was a positive.
Are you aware you left your thing up there?
Yeah. Yeah, it's intentional.
Because of the lapse. I don't know.
Through the chair to the council, I don't know what the exact language of this is compared to the other petition. I don't know, certainly, if you think you want more information, you can ask for reporting and whole.
Yeah, so I'm asking for just explain why I want the report. Perhaps we can do this a little bit quicker. To the chagrin of some folks, I am in support of this, Mr. Chairman. I was supporting it previously, and if there's a way that we can shorten the process for us to actually take a position on it, it would be great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I like that report.
Is it on hold list then? No, send it
Just
on.
ask for a motion to get a report.
So do the report, and we'll send it.
Quicker way.
You gotta make the motion, and you gotta second it. Come on. It's like basics, man. They don't know how to make motions. He has to make the motion, somebody has to second it, and then it gets... Holy crap.
But I said to Pat, I'm sure this is well intended, but I think the petitioner himself states what is obvious, which is you live in the towns, you came from the Millbury Worcester line, I'm assuming, you might have been close to the Millbury Worcester. Maybe makes sense, but a densely populated city like Worcester, you've heard testimony that you get the right kind of chicken, you don't get a rooster. Well, who's gonna monitor that? We've got a code department that's out of state. And they're gonna take all the dogs, which are on a leash, people are used to, used to raising or taking care of chickens are sort of novelty and an unknown. I don't think they will run properly in the city. So I'm not opposed to reporting.
I mean, dogs dogs carry rabies, so
And I'm also a fan of chicken, and for like chicken soup, like fried chicken, barbecue chicken,
yeah.
and all sorts of
Well,
shit.
that's what he could say. He could say mandate XYZ shots. It's easy. It's very easy.
When not, I don't think it's appropriate for people in a large city like Worcester to have chicken. I don't think
This
it's
guy's a
gonna be
clown.
enforced. I think it's gonna be detrimental.
It's very easy.
We also say who's gonna make the decision on who gets done with chicken, the landlord or the tenant. If it's in a rental situation, then I can see all sorts of conflicts. One of the code department about tenants, not having permission, or landlords not giving permission. Let me just say lastly, I've said this before, and some people probably don't realize it. You said this in the past, but there are also issues with predatory animals, and I've said in the past, I'll finish by saying, if coyotes could vote on this, they'd be able to unanimously vote for chicken, but I won't.
Please, Council King, Council Russell.
Mr. Chairman, today I had a reporter from Spectrum News show up at my office quickly and unexpectedly. And I had my phone, I was speaking to my colleagues in the public, the comedy of listening to it. But last summer, while I was on vacation, someone about maybe 600 or 800 feet away from me had chickens. Maybe they were roosters, I'm not sure what they are, but they made quite a bit of noise. And I recorded them in video, and I played that to the reporter this afternoon when he asked me what I thought of this. And I told him that in an urban community where most houses are 8 feet away from their property line on the side, we can't just, at least I can't, as one member of this council, can't go along with this kind of a proposal that should blanket approval across the city. I think that's a major mistake. Especially when it comes to multi-families like Council Burton referred to, and those tight urban neighborhoods. It's one thing if it's in a big lot or a big piece of land or, whatever. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make that suggestion, so when it goes to the planning board, and it goes to the committee, that it's actually looked at in a different light. I'd like to scratch the word allowed, and I'd like to replace it with be able to apply for a special permit before the planning board or zoning board of appeals on a case-by-case basis. So that I just think that that's what you have to do. If we're going to actually approach this as an issue going forward, it needs to be case-by-case. The neighbors need to be notified. It has to be a conversation in the neighborhood, and it has to be some conditions about like what kind of animals you can have, how it's going to be maintained, how it's going to be cleaned, what the rodent control plan would be, and those are all the kinds of things that would be done before the planning board or before a zoning board of appeals on a case-by-case basis for a special permit.
Thank you. Council King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's often many things said about all of us, me included, but I can certainly say I ain't no chicken, Mr. Chairman, when it comes to this. Okay, when you talk about urban farming, the city of Boston does this. That's the city.
That it does.
I agree with Councilor Russell. It requires permits, special permits, perhaps some zoning changes, strictly, because this allows roosters. So I certainly know that we listen to our constituents and their concerns and also their advocacy. But the notion that this is not an urban opportunity just doesn't fit. We're doing it in the largest city in New England, largest city in our Commonwealth. And they have specifications, Mr. Chairman. The number of chickens, distances from property lines and neighboring houses. Mr. Chairman, and so I rise to ask that it be included, my prior motion be amended to include what the regulations and ordinances are in the largest city in the Commonwealth. Because I anticipate that once again, that we'll have a positive response from the planning board if it's even necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Russell. Councilor
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to echo my colleague, Councilor King's thoughts and thank the petitioner for bringing this forward. Chickens are probably existing in all a lot of neighborhoods in the city, you don't realize it because when they're quiet and the chicken owners are respectful, it tends to not be an issue. That being said, I do agree that there should be special requirements going forward to make the process clear and concise for everyone. But, you know, the petitioner spoke about his grandkids, and one of the people who came to the mic, Zane, was actually Mr. Zane from my kids' farm school. And when kids do get to hold chickens and they see the, you know, raising eggs and growing chickens, it is a really cool experience for kids. And I think when we talk about sustainability, this is a great way to think outside the box a little bit. So I do look forward to being included in the conversation, supporting this going forward.
Thank you, Councilor Adria.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is kind of hard to spend so much time talking about getting permits about chickens when this council hasn't spent any time talking about transphobic and xenophobic comments and holding a life and death fire sprinkler, automatic fire sprinkler water. But that said, just want to remind folks that Amanda Shearstone, a District 5 resident, started this conversation about chickens about a year and a half ago. Not only did she start this conversation, she had multiple meetings with then Councilor Rose, who was the Chair of Economic Development, and Councilor King, and I don't remember who else, Councilor Rivera. She actually proposed 2 different sets of ordinances based on, I believe, either Brockton or Lowell. She did a lot of work to go to the planning committee, to the planning board. She submitted and brought out residents. She made T-shirts, which former Mayor Mariano made fun of as Team Chicken. And so I find it a little bit frustrating that we have to now go back to the planning board when there's been a resident, in addition to user, who has already done a ton of work and was basically ignored by the chair of that committee. So what I would like to do is support Councilor King's motion to get a report back, and perhaps if the petitioner is okay, which you can answer that yes or no, if the petitioner is okay, we could go back to a very thorough report and data and research that this resident spent literally a year talking to all of us, including myself, as opposed to coming back and regurgitating the whole bureaucratic wheel, which may just take months and months to give residents a clear answer.
Councilor Twin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The topic of chickens has been around for a long, long time. And I remember talking about it 10 years ago. But at any rate, I'm wondering, we have community gardens. Perhaps we could take a look, and this would be in the form of a motion, request a report, take a look and see if we could do community chicken coops as well. That would provide some opportunity for people who may not have the land, who may not have the ability to have them in their home, such as the Rebecca's that we mentioned before. There's an option and something to consider.
Okay, so we'll take a motion for all the items together, all the reports requested.
Mr. Chairman, I'll my amendment.
I was going to that next. And, so those in favor, then we have, we send this to the planning board, along with the other 2 items D and E, as amended by Councilor Russell for consideration.
Point of order. So in my mind, there's a possibility of just it's already been to the planning board and going to economic development, in my opinion. So my question is procedurally, once it's at planning board, does it have to be here, heard? I wonder if it makes sense to hold it for the report. Or can 2 processes be going on at once? Because if it's not necessary to go there, it doesn't even go.
The reason is moving on and on.
Through the chair to the council, I can jump in and maybe the solicitor can jump in. What you can do is you can send it to the planning board tonight, and if we speak with the planning department, they say they don't need a hearing, then they can probably send it back to the council with, I don't know if the mayor's going to write a report on it. That's my suggestion.
We say, once the planning board says that we don't need a hearing on it, that we just automatically send it to economic development.
Sounds good.
Okay. As amended. Okay. All those in favor, opposed, so ordered.
As amended, correct?
Yeah. That includes D and E. All those in favor, opposed, so ordered. F H, F through H, Public Works Committee, those in favor of also reported. We have 8I to 8Q. Let's make sure I'm not missing anybody. Anybody has an item to know, let's send that to the traffic and parking. Anybody have those items? I'll see if I was in favor of also reported. 8R and 8S. And then the for 8R and 8S. And nobody to refer that to the Conservation Commission. Those in favor of also reported. And Ms. AE. And I did you want to speak on that also? Councilor Russell, AE.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to be clear with this. This is the item that Representative Dunning and I put forward on behalf of the residents along Lightwood Ave and all the side streets. We're interested in an effort to try to encourage the property owners to use uses that would encourage residential development instead of, this was the site from the proposal that where the Conmax had the all over 1,000 parking spaces right up against people's homes, encouraging them to take another look and encouraging the city to take a look to maybe to work with the property owner going forward to give them some assistance and some guidance to get some housing into that area, especially after all the sewerage and water improvements that this council and the state government push forward in that area. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Yes, I know everybody wants to stand up. Councilor King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I would like to commend Councilor Russell, Representative Dan Dunning on their advocacy on behalf of the community there. Just a clarification regarding the RL, the 7 zoning. The question is that limited only to residential? Is my first question. The second question, is there another zoning that would allow it for limited business or some level of something else through the chair to the administration?
Mr. Manager.
To the chief, to the councilor, my understanding is that it still allows for limited commercial, it's not just strictly residential.
Okay, thank you, that answers my question. So R7 would still allow it business purposes if necessary. Okay, thank you.
Okay. That was, so refer that to the planning board, correct? Council, all those in favor, opposed, so reported. Mr. H, who's a to request lighting and review and improve on the new one-way portion of Jackson Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I just want to speak on this briefly. So, there's been a change to the way the sidewalk is. It's extended. It's been like that for, just probably not so, but that's an area of the city where it's pretty dark right before you hit under the bridge on South Street and go back onto Jackson, which they turn into a one-way going up from South Street. So that's the flow of residents over the years. My main concern is the safety of it. Every time I drive by there are tire tracks, all of it. You see hubcaps, you see bumpers just getting torn from people just making a right turn, not realizing that the sidewalk has literally extended so much further. So if there's a way we can move fairly quickly, because I'm not sure if this falls back on the city as far as cars being messed up, that becomes a liability or loss of the city. But this is something I'm really concerned of. It's pretty dangerous right now. The only thing that's saving us right now is that there's snow there, so people see it, so they can't drive on it, but you'll still see some snow, you'll see some tracks there. But once all that snow melts, it's really dark. So maybe some reflectors can be put in the ground now. Hopefully the city manager can work on that, just get ahead of that right away, because it's if you drive by there, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a stop sign there, it's probably taken out a couple of times as well. So I'm hoping that we can really look into this and get this done as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to send that to Public Works. So those in favor, opposed, so reported. We're on 8T through 8V. Motion to refer to city solicitor. First one is David Webb. We'll send that to the city solicitor. Next one, Stephen Quist, found open meeting law complaint form.
Steve Quist, Worcester. On February 7th, we had city councilors King Nguyen and Xia issue a public statement on behalf of the city council education standing committee. The education standing committee has not held public meetings in over 15 months. All three conspired together without public knowledge of notification in direct violation of open meeting laws to issue their joint public statement as reported by the Worcester Guardian on February 8th. Discussing certain matters with other council members outside of properly noticed meetings is a direct intentional violation of the open meeting laws. There was no scheduled meeting to undertake the action which is illegal. The open meeting law is to ensure public transparency in government decision-making, and that did not occur in this instance. All three now have to be held to account for their callous disregard of our open meeting laws. Thank you.
Okay, we'll send that to the city solicitor. Those in favor, opposed, so ordered. Nicole Parcel, found open meeting law. We'll send it to the city solicitor. Those in favor, opposed, so
Mr.
ordered.
Chairman, if I can just speak on these two, please.
Council King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just would like to ask the city solicitor to come back with us with whatever documentation that will be sent forward as soon as possible, Mr. Chairman. And just wanted to state for the record, there was no attempt to conceal here. Folks, this was a public statement by three individuals, and if in fact there is a violation, we look forward, well, I look forward, I speak for myself, to understanding that, and there may have perhaps been some procedural mistakes here, and that we rectify that if necessary as we move forward, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Send that to the city solicitor. Those in favor, opposed, so ordered. Next, we have Brian Dutremble, city council requests the city manager consider requiring landlords to routinely fail to clear their sidewalks after storms, continue to fund used to pay for proper snow and ice removal for said sidewalks as well as crossroads entrances at intersections.
Mr. Mayor, Brian Trumbull is online. We try to locate Brian. Brian, you're unmuted. Can you please state your name, city of residence, and list your petition?
Brian Trumbull, City of Worcester. Sorry, I couldn't be there tonight to speak on this. I hope anyone who has seen a city sidewalk recently can agree that something needs to change regarding how our city clears its sidewalks after a storm. Though I wish we didn't rely quite so much on random dudes from Auburn who happen to have plows. Our city tends to do a decent job of clearing its roads eventually, but the state of our post-storm sidewalks has often been abysmal. We put the responsibility for snow and ice removal almost entirely on property owners, which could be a fine system if they were really held accountable. But anyone who has tried walking around our city over the past weeks has likely almost died a number of times, and the state of our sidewalks remains unacceptable in many places, particularly at intersections where pedestrians have to scale.
It's legal in California, so how do I care?
I have submitted reports being true on one end, but there are just so many issues after snowstorms that there's no hope that anywhere near all of those reports will be addressed.
Some
before this
backwards
summer.
ways thinking, man.
And yes, a system for finding property owners already exists, but clearly the fine is either not enough or not given often enough. My suggestion would be that we levy an additional tax on property owners to pay for snow and ice removal, and then allow those property owners who show that they can be trusted with maintaining their sidewalks to apply to be exempted. This would drastically cut down on the number of dollars spent chasing after electrical landlords and provide more reliable revenue for snow removal. But we saw how landlords and landlord enthusiasts reacted to paying the $2 a month for rental registries, so I would expect that to be a tough sell. Regardless of which system we choose, we need to make it much more expensive to not clear sidewalks, and we need to create real consequences for endangering pedestrians. We need to
Oh,
ensure
they're
that
almost
our whole
there.
city is
I
successful.
just care about why. That's the only one I care about.
Thank you.
Thank you, we'll send that to the manager. Council King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have an amendment that perhaps may be acceptable to the petitioner. I want to also thank Mr. Dutrimble for his advocacy through the chair to the administration. My recollection is that with the previous city manager, I think this council perhaps had a hand in it as well, but we worked with our seniors and we worked with our high school students who would volunteer to help out in these sorts of instances. So I want to ask you, Chair, to the administration, if they can speak to that.
Through the chair of the council, yes, historically there was a process for a number of years, that went away a number of years ago. But the process was that we would work with the senior center to identify agencies, high schools, ROTC programs, any volunteers that we could sign up. And we would provide this list to the senior center and the community for individuals who, any seniors who called that needed help in removing snow, they would call this volunteer line and these individuals would show up and help remove some of the snow in the sidewalks. That's something that we'd be happy to work with the senior center to bring back, but it's definitely something that I remember historically because I used to be the one coordinating that effort in my project management roles back in the days. I do want to say something really quickly in regards to this. The city currently right now, once a fine is issued for the property owner for not clearing the sidewalk, then we give them a certain amount of time to rectify the issue. If they don't, we send a contractor to clean it, and then we charge the property owner not only the contractor fee, but also the fine. And if after a period amount of time they choose not to pay these, then there is a potential lien that could be assessed to the property. We currently have that, and my understanding prior to the meeting today, I was told that we have over 300 requests for contractors to deal with in the city. So we're on top of it. There's a lot of requests, but this is something that's extremely important, and that this council body and the administration made that decision years ago to ensure that these contractors are helping to keep property owners accountable.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, that was my recollection, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'd make a separate motion that we initiate that service. It sounds like there's someone in the city who could be tasked with doing exactly that. I recall the ROTC folks. This isn't just for seniors, this is for folks who are disabled, who are unable perhaps to care for their property business due to limitations, etc. And you know, my motion would be that we initiate the service that developed a list in coordination to whatever degree with the senior center, identifying volunteers, ROTCs, students, etc. Towards this end, Mr. Chairman. I think one of the things that we've learned over the years is that it's a coordinated effort. It's public, private, and volunteer. So if we can get that begun, I think it would be helpful. And I also think it would be a great civic duty that these young folks can provide to us if they're so willing. Thank you.
Council Russell.
Mr. Chairman, on the 21st, I received an email from an 86-year-old resident asking for assistance, and I asked Laura, at 311, to give the information. I figured I'd share it so the public would know about it. She gave me the names of the various different organizations that are doing this now. Alpha Phi Omega WPI is doing it. Hector Reyes House, Holy Cross College, Government Relations, and North High ROTC. So there are that information is already out there.
Thank you. So send that to the city manager along with the motion from Council King. Those in favor, also ordered. Criteria request a Juneteenth flag be flown from the Friday before the holiday, and Juneteenth is not on Friday, it's the day after the holiday.
Good evening, Frank Taylor, Worcester resident, president of Worcester branch NAACP, and also a business representative for the Carpenters Union. I'd like to speak on several items. The item that I filed a petition for was 8X. The reason I filed that petition is last year, the Juneteenth flag was flown on Friday. The following day, the flag was taken down, and I don't believe Juneteenth was until the following Tuesday or Wednesday last year. So that's why I filed a petition. I think it only makes sense that if you fly the flag prior to the day of the holiday, the flag should at least be flown until the day after. So that's why I filed that petition. I also would like to speak on 18C, Happy Black History Month, everyone. It shouldn't need to be put on a petition, as someone said, or as a resolution, as someone said earlier. But there's some people in the country who still don't respect it, believe it, and understand that Black history is American history. There's so many things that were created. We have so many successful actors, athletes, etc. Black history, Happy Black History Month, and I want to support 18C. I also would like to support 11A, that was put on by Councilor Toomey. I think that you guys, the council, should work with the city manager to explore putting snow boots. I never knew anything about that, but I saw that on one of the ordered snow boots so that you can plow out driveways, so that, one of the hazards is, or one of the obnoxious things is when you get plowed in, you leave your house and they plow the streets and you get this big pile of snow. It would be good if we had something to solve that problem. The last thing I'd like to speak about is 11A, Polo Park. The Polo Park District, also known as the Ballpark District, Financing District. Yes, I agree with that. Thank you very much, Council GI, for putting that forward to the course of the city manager work with Dowell, Madison Development, to come up with a plan. 6 years ago, maybe longer, probably like 7 or 8 years ago, the process of Polo Park had started. When that process started, we were all under the impression that the ballpark would be built, and there would be some other development around that area that would help support financing the ballpark. It still hasn't happened. This is 7 or 8 years later. I'd like to see that move forward. In addition to that, I want to be sure that we have some responsible development. If any contractors is doing construction on the hotel, the left floor office building, or any of that stuff, we should be sure that we have responsible development on those projects. And also, yes, please, we'd like to see a real community benefit agreement on some of the projects that getting done here in Worcester. So I'd like to see that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. City Manager. 8Y, to Hannah and Thames, request City Council petition state legislature for special act to amend City of Worcester charter to allow recall elections and municipal elections. Said petition would include the following: any holder of office elected solely by the voters of the city herein provided, reasons for lack of fitness and competence in neglect of duty, corruption, malfeasance, misfeasance, and violation of the oath. Principal of the city Worcester may initiate a recall by filing to city clerk in the office held whose recall was sought, and the statement of the grounds for the recall includes specific facts according one or more of the reasons. Jermaine, city residents.
Johanna Hampton Dance, the Hassan Municipal Nippon Tribe, resident of Worcester District 3. I want to start by saying I sat here through the whole meeting and listened and was patient and listened to white people insult me, a black woman of color, during Black History Month, saying I wasn't intelligent enough to craft a petition on my own. I sat here and listened to the same white people who sat here weeks after weeks after weeks wanting to fight for inclusivity and to be seen, to be disrespected, who took over a meeting the first month of February, the first week of February, which Black History Month could have been recognized. But I'm not here to do all that ranting and raving about that. I came here with a purpose. I stand before you because I'm coming to you with grace and humbleness. I didn't do this to spite anybody. This is not a pointed argument. This is about, we have no structure in our council. We have no order in our council. That's what it's about. It's about councils not being held accountable when we should. The same people who you strived and rooted for and stood up for you and put money into your campaigns and door knocks and everything else to get you in those seats should have the same rights afforded to get you out if you are not withholding up to your oath. You took an oath when you took the seat. If you can't do the job, step down, let somebody else who wants to do it, do it. Do not waste the taxpayer money. There's too much money that I personally pay in taxes as a homeowner for water, sewage, for excise, for trash bags, for you to say that you are not coming into work. All personal things aside. Any other job in America, you cannot walk away from and still expect to get a paycheck. You can't do it. It just doesn't work that way.
Amen.
So I'm asking this council to petition, just petition the state legislation. Let them be the judges on what the language is. Let them figure that part out. But it's not gonna affect this council. We're too close to an election season. It's coming up. It's not gonna affect anybody sitting on this council right now. But this is to ensure in the future that if somebody is not withholding and upholding their oath, they gotta go. And the same power, again, that we put you in those seats, we should be able to take you out of them. It's as simple as that. It's not personal. But when I'm sitting here and my intelligence is insulted and I have people talking about karma and everything else, oh, I was listening to everybody. I am out here unapologetic. I ain't got nothing to lose. What are you gonna do to me? I'm a regular citizen. I will say don't threaten me, because I didn't threaten anybody, and I'm all about a good time. At the end of the day, it was embarrassing. Worcester was embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. I traveled, as many people do. And when they say, where are you from? And I say Massachusetts, because they notice my accent, and they say Boston, I say no, Worcester, 45 minutes outside. I had somebody in California tell me how trash Worcester was. I love Worcester. I'm 47 years old. I've been in Worcester since the age of 0. Absolutely. I didn't mean to take up this time. I said I wasn't going to do it, but I was really happy offended by that. In closing, I'm not a disrespectful person. I'm too reactive. I respond like, what? All right, but at the end of the day, I just want to say Tubadne. Tubadne in my language, my native tongue, which is Algonquin, means thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me your time. Thank you for hopefully considering this. And remember, this is not a pointed attack, no matter what somebody thinks. I'm telling you out of my mouth, it's not pointed. And by the way, happy birthday, Councilor King.
Thank you, sorry, Mr. Nathan. Thank you, Ms. Hampton-Dance, for coming forward with this petition. And I want to believe that this is not a pointed petition, because if it were, then that would be really sad. So I just want to explain something. In principle, I agree a lot through the chair to the petitioner, with the spirit of this petition. We should have a high bar for elected officials. That bar should be taken very seriously. We should be able to have conversations around what the conduct of elected officials should be. But I believe deeply, as I think I've heard a lot of my colleagues when we were having this conversation about the Community Preservation Act, that an amendment to the charter and engaging our constituents on a conversation with the charter should be done through constitutional mechanisms. And that includes the whole electorate. Having an elected commission body, that's what the voters of Worcester desire, should guide us through a process for a whole charter review. We have heard a lot of conversations in the last even during the last election season, when both residents and folks who have asked us about the old way and inefficient way that this charter review, in a lot of its respects, acts as. And I have been very open that I think I would be very much in favor for a charter review. We've had this discussion in NLO committee. Mr. Tom Marino, who has come to a lot of my neighborhood meetings to collect signatures and talk to District 5 residents about the charter review, has already some efforts. Former Councilor Rosen, I've heard talk a lot about charter review. What I am unclear, and what I find a little bit hard with this petition, the way that it's written, is that while I agree in spirit and fundamentally agree that we should have a recall mechanism, it does leave me with a few concerns that I'd like to ask through the chair, Madam Solicitor, if you could help me understand some questions that I have through the chair.
Go ahead.
Madam Solicitor.
Yeah, that's your question.
Okay, great. Thank you, Madam Solicitor. Through the chair, could you define for me the legal definition of incompetence?
Through the chair, that there's a lot of case law on what that means, and that would be up to the body at that time, that committee, if you decide to implement any recall, that would, the parameters would be within your control.
Thank you, Madam Solicitor. Who gets to define what falls under that category? I heard you say it would fall on the body, meaning when you say the body, for people that don't understand that language, does that mean the city council?
Through the chair, yes, there's legal definitions, and that's a broad spectrum, and the city council would determine, what parameters it adopts.
So for instance, English is not my first language, so, and I'm not a lawyer by trade. Some of my colleagues have that privilege of understanding some of the legal terms. But when we talk about categories like corruption, malfeasance, misfeasance, are those legal categories that would define, are those the only legal categories that this body would have to decide whether to recall a city council? And do we have the training to understand the legal parameters around these words?
Through the chair, there's several other cities and towns have recall statutes, and that malfeasance and misfeasance are specifically tied to a public office and public trust in the office. So there's some guidance as to how to, classify and determine those categories.
Through the chair, and thanks for explaining all that. I think it's helpful for us to talk through before we take a vote on this petition, or send it to them, whichever the will of the council is. If a councilor takes money, for example, in exchange for a developer doing a project, is that considered corruption?
Through the chair, yes.
And so, under the current charter, we don't have a mechanism to address that.
Through the chair, correct, unless there's a conviction of the ethical.
But as special employees, as we learned in the last discussions that we've had around what our protections, what our labor protections are, the conflict of interest law envelops those instances, corruption, ethics violations, etc. Okay. I'm asking all these questions, and I'm okay, thank you very much for your service. I'm asking all these questions because if we are going to vote on a single amendment to the charter, I think that the electorate should have a voice. We should vet out what these categories are, and maybe through the chair to the petitioner, there might be other categories that aren't included in here. Mr. Clerk, through the chair, the process, as I understand for a charter amendment, it has to go to a delegation of a member of our delegation in order to file the bill.
Through the chair to the council, so basically, we just actually went through the special act procedure with our district school committee lines. We did our school committee districts. That process is the solicitor worked with the committee and the council to draft the special into the language. It was sent to the state legislature. I think the solicitor sent it directly to the state legislature, then you had members, the local delegation sign on and kind of push it through. I think a similar process also with our, when it comes to the civil service of the chief of the police. There has been, similar legislation that perhaps initiated in committee through council and to council with the assistance of the solicitor. Because secondly, I think it has to come from the city manager. Once this body takes a vote, the manager is the one who actually presents it to the state delegation or the state legislature.
Thank you. Between now and when we vote for this petition or others, there could be 3 residents, there could be 4 members of this council who introduce similar resolutions to piecemeal by piecemeal digest the whole entire charter in an effort to review it. I'm saying all of this because essentially, if this is just my opinion, I agree with Ms. Hendon-Dance. I don't think this is targeted towards one person because there might be several people here who might be, voters may decide to recall us for whatever reason. But I don't think it's effective to have this piecemeal approach because it's inefficient. It creates chaotic conversations that aren't thoroughly vetted with a coherent strategy for addressing other areas of the charter that needs review. And frankly, through the petitioner, I understand where you're coming from, but to have legislators who don't know our city, this falls into a committee in the Massachusetts legislature that they don't know our city. And I don't want them to define for us what areas of our charter we need to work on and how we should define them. So what I would like to propose to the petitioner, if she's okay with this, instead of taking this piecemeal approach, I would love for you to work with Mr. Marino and former Councilor Rosen, who have been working at this conversation, to actually have an entire charter review. And the way to do that is in a democratic way, by collecting signatures, electing members of the community in the Charter Commission, and actually go back and forth and have a discussion as a democratic body to make sure that we are including all areas of the charter that needs review. To that end, and Mr. Hernandez, I'm happy to connect you with the folks that are doing the work, and I think it would be an excellent contribution to that group. I would like to make an amendment, if the petitioner would be okay with that. I would like for the City Council to resolve today in a symbolic gesture to support resident-led efforts that are already in place to place the question of charter review to voters through a local initiative petition. And that would be for the entire charter, not a specific area of the charter. I think that is the most democratic way that we can make decisions, and most importantly, it involves the entire electorate.
Okay, so, Councilor Burton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do believe in having the voters vote on very substantive issues. I've said that in the past. I would just note that we voted to redistrict the school committee races. There was no resident vote on that. Apparently, our state legislatures do us well enough to understand what some of my colleagues were asking us to do because it got done. So I don't think there's a disconnect between what the legislatures know about City of Worcester and asking them to act on our behalf. I'm going to cut through some of what I've been hearing from some of the speakers and simply say, for me, this has happened twice in my 12 years on the City Council. It happened around 2018, and it's happened again. So whether it's effective or not for this particular circumstance, I think it needs to be addressed because it's not something that hasn't happened before, and it's likely, without addressing it, to be something that's likely to happen again. And what hasn't been said is what are the consequences of not attending meetings, and those consequences being absent. Consequences are likely to be some 5-5 ties coming up in the future, which doesn't move our agendas along. The consequences are some of us, myself included, filling in at subcommittee meetings for members who decide they don't want to come. Now, I make myself available as often as I can, anytime I'm asked, and I know my colleagues do the same thing. But we don't take on responsibility what others' responsibilities are. We shouldn't have to, and that's being ignored. So I do think that the voters should have a say on this, but I also think that there are ways to consider addressing this issue based on attendance, not just based on the language that this particular petitioner asked for, which I do support and appreciate the petitioner asking for. I think there are other language that could be included with special legislation that would include a substantive number of absences without medical documentation, so that the seat would be considered vacant. Obviously, if somebody has a mental or physical condition that requires them not to attend, that's one thing. But to routinely say it's okay because there's no rules, and we should just ignore that going forward because that's just the way it is, or have a whole charter review because we don't want to address this issue, to me, I think is doing a disservice. I mean, there are residents in the city of Worcester that if the advocacy of somebody that represents them at large, all the residents of the city in theory are represented by somebody at large, are also represented by the district councils. And I would say the same thing whether this was a district council or an at-large council. So for me, this isn't addressing a particular council, it's addressing a particular position, which is I don't have to show up if I don't want to. I personally think there should be some attendance requirement. So I'm just going to ask the petitioner would allow me just to amend the last portion of the item 8Y to say other options to declare a seat vacant. And I'd be more than happy to take this in municipal operation, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to respond.
You have like 1 minute.
Yeah, sure, I'll use my entire minute. First of all, we just heard the petitioner say that this wasn't about a particular member. Second of all, this council has literally ignored allegations that are so severe that nobody on this council should be okay with. So we just heard the petitioner say, this is not about addressing a particular person, because frankly, by the time this will take how many months to be addressed. So I don't understand why Councilor Bergman feels the need to twist my words. But I will say this, we have heard from many folks that they would like us to address a charter review. What I said in my statement is that this is an opportunity to not do that in a piecemeal approach because it's inefficient, it is disorganized, and frankly, the committee that's going to look at this petition does not get and should not get to decide what the voters of Worcester should decide. I am all for having a recall election, all for it, let's do it. However, the way that this petition is written leaves me with some concerns that not everyone in the city is involved. And what I'm saying is, while we should be addressing the issue of recall for any of us, all of us, any of us, and any future councilors, we should do this through a mechanism that makes sense without sending a million petitions to the legislature. That's it. I thought that this was not going to be a conversation about a particular councilor. More than happy to have that conversation about other councilors and the way they've conducted themselves on this council floor.
Councilor Silva.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to start by saying I do appreciate the petitioner taking the time to file this. And I kind of took a deep dive into what a recall process would look like, which the clerk already went over. But essentially, we would have to go through the language and determine, what does incompetence mean? What are the benchmarks going to be? Who determines the standard? How could violation of oath be defined in a way that's objective rather than political? And I agree, I don't think it seems fair to have the council set their own standards. I don't mean that in the best way to anyone, I just think we're biased because we are on the council. So we could say anything we wanted as long as there are 6 votes and it would pass. In addition, we also need to decide how many signatures would be needed to trigger a recount. Other Massachusetts municipalities with recall provisions typically require a range of 10% to 20% of registered voters, and you're looking at 12,000 to 24,000 registered signatures. So essentially, what would prevent a highly motivated minority or a well-funded group from overriding the council or... Anyway, once all of this was decided, this would take a really, really long time to go through this state. And it would be very expensive to do recall elections, and I'm not opposed to recall elections, But I do want to point out that there's 65 precincts, and it would cost, with early voting and mail-in ballots, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Clerk, roughly $250,000. So this is a really big decision to make. And I agree with Councilor Hyjai and agree with Mr. Marino that I think we should look at the charter as a whole and look for major structural changes should require a full charter review and not just to debate recall elections. I thought this petition was interesting. I thought about it a lot. I obviously thought about it way too much and did some homework on it. And I feel like we need to be non-biased and fair in anything we do going forward. And if we really do want to strengthen accountability, which I agree we absolutely should, we need to have a deliberate, legally sound, and transparent process. Our Charter Commission would allow for comprehensive public input, legal clarity, and measured decision-making, which I think, that's all I ever want. Like, I just want us to be fair and do things the right way. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm gonna have to agree that the motion to look at the charter in totality makes sense to me. I have significant concerns about moving forward this way, that it's used as a political cover, Mr. Chairman. I heard comments about attendance, subcommittee attendance, which is particularly concerning for me. I serve on a council where the chairperson would not schedule after 5 p.m. Despite the notice that I provided shortly after January of 2023, that I was not available until after 5. And repeated scheduling, important meetings about speed limit changes scheduled prior to 5 p.m. without any consideration. So this is particularly triggering to me. And we know that when that happens, if there's someone who's filling those seats in that committee, it must be approved by the mayor. And I know that I put in writing all of the concerns in regards to that. So when we talk about political cousins, we're talking about using things such as attendance for political means. That I'm not okay with. Now, in addition to that, the elephant in the room, Mr. Chairman, we have a counselor that's not here. We have a counselor that's not here indefinitely. I'm not aware of a counselor that's quit or resigned. Indefinitely could mean tomorrow, could mean a week, could mean a month, I don't know. In order to find that out, you have to communicate, Mr. Chairman. Now, in addition to that, when you talk about violation of oaths, I've been on this council for quite some time. I understand the concerns. I remember Councilor Gaffney disappearing and just not showing up, and then having the audacity to put his name back on the ballot the very next election. I recall that. I recall it well. That, however, did not involve any serious allegations pertaining to his being or any allegations of slurring in his regard, Mr. Chairman. All of these things have come together. The timing of this is not a coincidence. We heard references to folks nationally making comments about our good city that I'm very proud of. The fact that we stood up and affirmed the Constitution of this Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the fact that we said we're not going to give in to any sorts of exploitation of human beings is something I'll do again and again. And I'm very, 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 very proud of that. Now, we could have done that in short order, week 1. And we're much longer than that through leadership decisions. You know, this is something that's two-sided here. We know that they do this in other places, but again, the fact that my concerns manifested moments ago
given the knowledge of what's going on in subcommittees with the scheduling. I've been on committees, Mr. Chairman, in the past as chairman 3 or 4 terms ago, where I couldn't get a meeting scheduled because of politics. And we worked through that. We worked through those things. Those people I work with to this very day. But there are political things that are going on, and I think it makes sense to expand this to an overall charter. Violation of oaths. We've had folks come forward some years ago regarding freedom of speech in the council, and certain councilors not being aware of that, violating that. We take an oath of office. We were sworn in. That speaks to some of this. But to get to the nitty-gritty, short. But the timing of this is not coincidental. I don't believe, or I don't disbelieve anything that the petitioner said here tonight. Nonetheless, the timing is what it is. That being said, Mr. Chairman, I will vote to support the amended motion of this particular matter. This could be an extremely, extremely divisive political tool as we, as a body, in this time, figure it out. As this process goes, we'll probably end up in another term with new councilors. And perhaps there's some more objectivity there. And I'm not saying that we're not objective here, I think we could be, but it's going to be extremely challenging, particularly given what I just heard. And again, I'm not aware of anyone having resigned, quit. I've heard indefinite, could mean tomorrow for all I know. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Wilson.
Mr. Chairman, the 14 years that I've been here with the city council, I can't remember this vote on this council floor. I've had 100% roll call vote on this council floor for as long as I can remember. Maybe the clerk could find something from 12 or 13 years ago, but I had to go to the men's room or something. But every time I've been here, Mr. Chairman, the people of this city, whether they're on the right or on the left, have given us all a chance to get up and to do our job and to speak and to stand up for them on a daily basis. Sometimes it's in this chamber, sometimes it's outside this chamber, but it has to be in this chamber. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to support sending this to Councilor Berman's committee just for a while. I don't expect it to go, to be honest, if it was sent to the State House, I'm sure one of our delegation would have issues with it. So I don't expect it to be happening, but I think it's a conversation that should be had in that committee. Well, Mr. Chairman, my friend and colleague, Councilor King, referred to the elephant in the room. And I will just say, can't we all agree, and when I say all, everybody is agreeing, can't we all agree that we should show up and do our job, no matter who we are? Whether we disagree with people on an issue or multiple issues, can't we all agree? I know I didn't say that. I'm not looking for applause as I never am, but thank you. Can't we all agree as a community we have to do our job? We have to show up for work. And Mr. Chairman, going forward, I'm looking for all my colleagues on this floor, and everyone is thinking about running for office. I'm going to be calling them out to say, can't we all agree that we need to show up for work? And Mr. Chairman, with that, I will say I support sending this committee, but let's show up for work.
Mayor Pettit. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be quick here, and I do support something this committee. I also support, I think, there's 5 the city manager, I filed a motion to do a charter review. Actually, the charter, which we were charter reviews for so many years, like most cities and towns do. It's like actually the charter, not saying we're gonna have this one there or whatever, just saying we do a charter review. And I supported that a few months back, and we should go over the process, maybe demo, and how we go doing that with the council. And I think charter review is important, because times change, people change, communities change. We have a lot of new members here, very diverse population, and we all like to have some type of input. It's a complicated matter, it's not gonna be done like the petitioner said, it's not gonna be done overnight, but it's something we should talk about, and really look at the charter and see what kind of changes we should make going forward. Thank you.
Council in District 4, followed by Council Toomey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, I guess people have been made aware that in MLO, our recent meeting, we had a meeting with Tom Marino, who actually has been very adamant about this charter review. So that's something that we've actually been addressing. That's something that's been on the table at our committee meeting at MLO. So that's something that, that's something that we've been working on at our last meeting. So I guess when this comes up again, hopefully everybody has a chance to be notified, and we'd love to have you there for discussion, obviously. So it's something that we've been working on already. So hopefully, again, when we have our next meeting, everybody can attend. Thank you.
Okay. So send that along the motions to MO. Council Toomey, I'm sorry, my apologies.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. I remember, well, it might be 26, 27 years ago, maybe 28, there was actually a very large campaign to try to do a charter review. I was supportive of it then, I'm supportive of it now. We always should be looking to make sure that we're improving all the time. It does not, as was said, does not necessarily mean change the leadership, whatever, but to take a look at it. I think that this is something that should go to committee, and I think that that's where the majority of the work gets done, and I think it's important to have this discussion now as opposed to waiting for a full charter review. So I'm going to be supporting.
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, basically, Councilor Hajia put in, I think, an amendment, Councilor Hajia, or just a resolution itself? A resolution says, one resolution which I can read, for the city council to support resident-led efforts to place questions of charter review to the voters through the local initiative petition. So that's Councilor Hajia's resolution. There was an amendment made to the petition by Councilor Bergman to, I think, include other options for CPIC. Councilor Bergman, correct?
Yes, through the chair, or just the end of 8Y to say, or other options to declare a seat vacant.
Okay, so we can send that to MO.
Mr. Chairman, I'm concerned for other options. To be honest,
If things change or something.
That can be explored in committee perhaps, but that's too wide open for me. That's going to remain on this. If that was withdrawn, I will vote in the affirmative.
Mr. Chairman, my colleague whose birthday is today, and wish him happy birthday early, can hold it, he can vote against it. I'm not changing any words on it.
Okay, so I guess it's going to be held. Okay.
Is it just hold his amendment?
Hold his amendment.
Yep.
Okay. So we'll send the rest to the committee. All those in favor? So ordered.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of order, so we sent the petition to the committee?
Yes.
But not Councilor Higiai's?
Yes.
So that's still held?
Yeah.
Because
Send it to
Mr. Chairman, hold on.
Or was it?
The amendment was not on the agenda item.
Yeah, we voted approve.
I would like the roll call on the resolution, Mr.
I'm trying to understand what we did.
Okay.
So
we're gonna hold Councilor Bergman's amendment. We're gonna send Joanne Nance's thing.
Mr. Chairman, his amendment to what, to Councilor Higiai's?
No, to the petition.
The petition, okay.
Then we have a vote, a roll call on the resolution to support charter review.
Chairman, can I just have just a point of order? The clerk could read back Council Hachiai's amendment, because I just may want to address that for 1 second.
Through the chair to the council, so there's two things happening here. So we have a resolution brought forward by Council Hajiai, and there's also the petitioner that brought the language forward. I think what the body's intent now is to send that to committee as presented by the petitioner, and then we're gonna hold any amendments that was provided by Council Bergman or Council King. So Council Hajiai's resolution was for the city council to support a resident-led effort to place the question of a charter review to the voters through a local initiative petition. So I think Council Hajia, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the Tom Marino petition that was offered by the Board of Election Commissioners last year. He's been collecting signatures since then.
Mr. Chairman, so can I address?
Point of order.
Council Bergman's got the floor.
To the third?
He's talking.
Oh, okay.
So let me just say, in committee, Mr. Marino spoke, and others, I think, were there to support him. And his frustration, I don't want to speak for him, my sense was his frustration was that the citizen collection of signatures was too cumbersome, and he wanted us to try to go about the charter change differently. Now, if the amendment is to have the citizens sign a petition, I'll support that, but that's not what, just so everybody, what my understanding of what Mr. Marino wanted. So the amendment is different than what we discussed in committee. I just want everybody to know what they're voting for, because I'll support the citizens, signature collection effort, because that's certainly a way to go about it, and certainly most democratic. But we were not being asked that in committee, is my recollection.
Can I respond since, just to clarify the
But
waters?
you can speak for clarification,
I agree with Councilor Bergman. I'm not asking you to support or not support Mr. Moreno. I brought him as one example of a community effort that's going on right now. What my resolution is, what I put forward is for the city council to be on record supporting any resident, could be somebody else, any resident-led efforts to place the question of the charter review to the voters through the local option. It's nothing to do with who's doing what. I'm happy to support, and I would be happy to support. It doesn't mean I want the city manager gone. I just simply want a charter review, and I think it's fair to, since the petitioner brought this forward, you open up the larger discussion. That's all.
Council King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I heard my colleague on the other side of the aisle indicate that he supports the petition, citizens petition, as I've stated. Perhaps as a procedural matter, the councilor would make a separate motion so that we're not holding up unnecessarily the petitioner's item, the resident's item, Mr. Chairman. Sounds like we're all in agreement there. Again, my concerns remain, and I would just ask that that be separated out so that the petitioner who's invested their time here will have a vote tonight.
We already decided. Council Russell.
Yeah, we've got a couple of different conversations going on here. We've got the one on Joanna Anthony Dance's petition, which is hopefully going to the committee, which I'll support. But then there's the issue of whether we support charter change or charter commission or in general. And Mr. Chairman, I've been stood in this chair for many years asking for charter change, asking for no offense, Mr. Manager, asking for strong mayor form of government. And, it's never gotten traction. So, it's no secret that I would like to see some changes on charter. But I don't think the way to do charter change is a knee-jerk reaction to a citizen petition this evening. I think that we can send the council's item or resolution to Council Bergman's committee with the word consider it, with the understanding that it will be discussed in committee, and then they can come back with something at that point. But I want to be perfectly clear, my vote, Mr. Chairman, is not being decided on charter commission this evening. So, thank you.
Okay, so we're sending item petition to Councilor Oliva.
Sorry, Chairman, yeah, I'm interested. Because, there's something that we're working on. And, Marino brought to the point, which Council Bergman has stated that
one of the struggles is to get the residents to be able to be committed in this process. What I don't want to happen is when we get to MLO that we have two different things that we're working on, we're trying to get to the same outcome. And right now, whatever goes through, we still have to be working on MLO right now. And then if you add this, based on Marino's research just from over the years that he's been working on, I just don't want to take away from all the work that we're doing right now. And then when we're in MLO, we have two different items, and then we're just sitting there trying to figure out which way is the best way to go. So that's why I'm just sitting here trying to understand whatever we're going to move forward. Understand we're already working on something now. How do we make sure when we have it in MLO that we address everything that we need to address without taking away from the work that's being done already? So that's why I just came on this.
I understand the confusion, but to me, the process is, it's an MO now, they're having those discussions, so the council can do that. Also, there's gonna be a resolution, they have the right to do in the committee. Then, we also want to have a citizen petition to do it, citizen, like that's suggested by the resolution. So you can do this two ways, right? So you can, citizens want to log in signatures, that's up to them, or to go to, it's in MO right now, correct? You have to have that discussion. So, I don't know.
We have to check with the clerk as far as the chairman's orders, but it has been ongoing discussions, and I thought we left it with some chairman's orders, and so opportunity to come back, but maybe the clerk can help us. And then there's at least one item involving charter.
So through the chair to the council, so I just pulled up the MLO pending list. There was a discussion on this in January 2025. There was a order brought by Council Sean Rose, requesting the standing committee of municipal operations hold a discussion regarding exploring the creation of a charter commission. So that item is actually right now. Yep. So it's discussed in January, I think it was held, and I think Tom Marino was president of the January.
So, Mr. Chairman, let me just say this, I think I still have a few minutes left of my time, and I'll be brief. I've been on this council long enough, as my colleagues have as well, that when items in committee, we generally don't get resolutions that are conflicting with what's in committee. I mean, what's in committee is in committee, so I'll take whatever the will of the council is into committee, but I just know there's some level of deference usually given in the committee that we're trying to sort this out, and I'm not quite sure. I heard the word citizen when I asked the clerk to repeat what the resolution was, and now I'm hearing it's not necessarily a citizen, it's any method. I'm not trying to hold up the petitioner's item. I'm just suggesting that there's maybe more than one way to address the issue that was brought forward. So whatever the will of the council is, but you know, it's disappointing to me as the chair of the committee that I'm being kind of told what I have to discuss, already discussing it.
Okay, so we'll send that to the committee, right? The petition. Those in favor, opposed to what? Now we have a resolution to say that we support charter commission initiated by the public. So, Council Wilson? I can't hear.
Mr. Chairman?
I'll let Mr. Corker.
So, Mr. Mayor, let me repeat what Councilor Vigliotti has stated. So, it's a resolution for the city council to support a resident-led effort to place the question of the charter review to the voters through the local initiative petition process.
So, which is the other one, do the work against 10,000.
So we're sending that to committee, Mr. Chairman?
You send, after we take the resolution, we send it to the committee to they can sort it out there. Okay? Council Lucille.
Thank you. May I just ask one question through you to the clerk, please? So we would do, so I'm in favor of this, but just for clarification, a resident can bring a petition saying that they support a charter commission, but then my question is, the people on the commission would have to be on the November ballot and be elected to the commission?
Through the chair to the council, so basically, the residents had already come forward last year and requested papers. We printed, I think, like 30,000 sheets.
I was at the meeting, I remember.
Right, you're at the meeting. So basically, the papers are out there. If they do have 17,000, they can turn them in. And if they turn those 17,000, I'm sorry, you know, the number could be less or it could be a little more depending on how many good signatures there are. Once they drop those papers off and we certify them, they meet the threshold, which is 15%. Then we would offer papers for a charter commission. And depending on the timing, if it's gonna be available for this November, if the residents, let's say, have 17,000 signatures, they come down tomorrow, we certify them, we would put the November Charter Commission for this November.
What's the date that they would have to get the signatures in by?
By the time we print the ballot, so I think it's sometime,
90 days
I would say like sometime September. I think I gave the calendar when we had the Board of Election Commissioners. I don't remember the exact dates. I did ask the petitioners who, the residents who were asking for those petitions to bring them forward so we can have plenty of time to certify them. But ideally, if we get them this summer, the Charter Commission would be available to be put on the ballot and people can run for those seats for this November.
And then through the chair to the clerk, may I ask one more question? How many signatures would someone trying to get on the Charter Commission need to make the ballot?
Through the chair to the council, I have to pull the agenda, but it was not a big number. We've done this before in the 70s. It's the same process of running for office, you're just running for the Charter Commission.
Okay, thank you so much.
So that's going to committee, then we have a resolution to support it. The public wants to take their own, which they can on their own, so roll call.
Please repeat that.
A roll call on the resolution.
Okay, Council Bergman?
Yes.
Council Calorio?
Yes.
Council Ajay?
Yes.
Council King?
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson? Council Nguyen? Council Ojeda?
Yes.
Council Patillo?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
Council Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes, okay, Mr. Nathan, you're up. Fred Nathan requested the council to see a double.
I have a bunch of
Excuse me, let me finish, please. Investigation of how many funds here, why the service. Requesting status of.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I have no idea.
Yeah, get that too.
Yes, thank you. Fred Nathan, Worcester. I just want to say, sitting here,
If I were you, and I'm not telling you what to do,
it's 5 o'clock.
do with it whatever you want.
Kind of gives me meaning to chickens coming home to roost, but that's a whole nother
Immediately
issue.
tomorrow, go to the city
I
clerk
am in
and
favor of the
demand
snow boots. I am
all
in
public
favor
records
of the,
for all
Juneteenth,
of
change in days.
interactions
the
that go
flag.
on for that particular petition.
As for Johanna's,
You do that every day,
I
moving
do
on out.
believe
You
that
do
she
that in writing,
crafted this all by
and you
herself.
copy all of them.
11A.
Do not let this go
Madison
without
property.
demanding public records.
It's what we find
Do not
people
call
in
it a
case they
public
have
records
short
you
memory.
request. Every time you
We
need
have a company that
the
came into
wording
Worcester
needs to be,
that was called
I require,
CXX. They
never
promised
I request.
all kinds of stuff. to the
Because
city
a
of Worcester.
request, they can say,
I
cool, go
don't know
fuck
how much
yourself.
of it actually ever came
You
to
say,
fruition.
I require.
Maybe 10%.
And
of what
it's
they promised.
any and all
Okay.
communications via
If the city
hard
doesn't
communications, which
push it,
means
then
physical
keep
like
their
paper,
hands,
and electronic,
close to the fire.
regarding your petition.
They just get away with it. I don't know
And
if
again,
mentioned
I
this,
require,
snow
not I
boots,
request.
I am in favor of that.
So that would be my recommendation
And
to
as for my item
you,
here
and
about the rent
good
control
fucking petition.
or
So
something similar to
don't
it,
let up on yourself.
I just want to
Just pull
remind
that out.
the mayor
Yeah.
that this item was passed.
All right, I'm cutting it off here.